It's your boys, PSA Sitch, here with another Republican debate analysis.
Look at this.
Oh my God, here with Adam Friended, the guy who said he wasn't going to play the harmonica, but is. Adam, can you explain to the voters in America why you said very clearly in the past that you were not going to play the harmonica, but you clearly are right now?
Well, let me tell you, PSA Sitch, I believe in the American voter, okay? And the American voter has spoken. They have said, Adam, we want you to play that harmonica, and if you don't, we will protest. So listen, I'm listening to our fans.
Can I interrupt here? Dana, can I interrupt here? As the only person on the stage who has also been a streaming partner with Adam Friended, can I interrupt you? Please, Dana, please, God, Dana, let me interrupt. I am a very important person. I know no one cares about the state of North Dakota, but please, Dana, please, let me interrupt. Let me tell you about why the federal government's bad. The federal government is the root of all the evils in the world.
So true, so true. Should I do a search on my notes here to see how many times I wrote the word cringe? Because I feel like I'm in double digits here.
Was it every time Borgen opened his mouth?
Burgum.
Booger?
Yeah,
Burgum?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, God, he's so bitter. So many people were so bitter. And the fights even just seemed kind of like...
lackluster?
Slap fights. I mean, it was not looking pretty.
Okay, so I guess we'll give our overalls, and then we'll kind of do the same thing we did last time. We'll do a breakdown. We'll go through all the questions and answers.
Okay.
Yeah, give me your generals.
I went first last time. I'll let you go first.
Is that true? Did you?
Yeah, I did. Totally.
Okay.
I'll go first if you want me to go first.
I'll go first. Listen, America, I'm not afraid of going first. This is why you elected me, Sitch, to be the front name in the Sitch and Adams Sunday show.
All right, what did you think? What was your takeaway?
I thought that America is a great nation.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a given.
Let me answer for real. Okay. So to me, it seemed very clearly that all the candidates really, really, really listened to the talking heads, all the polling data from the last election, because especially like Vivek definitely did. He was like in completely different mode. It's so funny because everyone was criticizing Vivek last time. They're like, oh my God, he's on the stage. He's insulting all these people. He comes off as like this young, egotistical a-hole. Like he's to know his place, blah, 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 blah. And then it's so funny. This debate, he's all like, everyone on stage is a hero. All the people around me are the best people I've ever interacted with. Just the very smell of Ron DeSantis just fills my lungs with love. I'm pretty sure I'm sporting wood right now, just being so next to Tim Scott. It was hilarious. He did like a complete 180 than he did on the first election and the first debate. And like, it was very clear that none of the people on stage were buying any of it. They all still hated his guts. They were all still trying to like attack him with everything they got. And it was very interesting. I felt like the moderators hated Vivek as well. I don't know if you caught that.
I felt like the moderators hated everyone. I felt like all of the questions were so pointed.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my biggest takeaways was the Republican Party has got the memo that Latinos hate their guts. They're doing everything in their power to turn that around optically.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get a moderator with the thickest Latino accent that we can possibly get. Like, I want her on the verge of speaking Spanish here.
Right.
So, yeah, that was one of my big takeaways. Mm-hmm. I mean, stylistically, it did seem. I mean, it seemed kind of like a halfway between a Republican debate and a Democratic debate, which I'm not necessarily against. Well, they're obviously trying to cater to minority voters. You didn't sense that in all the questions. I mean, look, they literally brought up Ronald Reagan and said, "Look, Ronald Reagan did amnesty.
Yes.
How about that?"
Oh, okay. So I think the Fox News, I agree with you, was trying to do that. I don't think any of the candidates on stage didn't seem like they were doing any of that stuff.
Well, no, but that's the interesting thing because they kind of have to walk this line,
right?
Yeah, because obviously it's a Republican primary. So,
Well, I'll get into the intro because well, I just want to talk about their behavior first before I talk about Fox News, because I think Fox News has its own agenda here, which is very fascinating to talk about. But
Yes.
so it's just not only Vivek, but it felt like most of the other candidates too kind of were trying to listen to everyone's reaction from the previous debate and then change their behavior accordingly. Vivek was just like the most apparent because he did a complete 180.
Right.
The only person that I didn't think did that at all was Pence, who was just literally more, I will be that great neoconservative Republican that no one wants anymore. Please elect me for president in the year 2008. Like, it was so weird. I don't know what he's running for or to.
Yeah. Pence had a please clap moment very early on in the debate that I was like, okay, this guy's just toast. Like, he should just be taken off the debate stage right now. It was he obviously rehearsed this line, the line about where Biden belongs in the unemployment line.
Oh yeah, he's like, he doesn't deserve to be in office.
He doesn't belong. Look, he doesn't belong on the picket lines.
Oh, that's right.
He belongs in the unemployment line, and he even paused there.
Yeah,
and I swear I heard somebody cough in the audience. And he kind of stared into the camera like, oh God, should I say please clap? This is the point when they're supposed to clap. And from then it was just over. And that was like his first question out of the gate.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be his big opener. Yeah, he's done. He's not he's not even going to be in the next debate.
He was never gonna, he might be in the next debate, but he was never shot anyway. I mean, come on. But
look, the best thing that guy could do for America now is to step down.
They did a good job, I think, with the audience. The audience didn't really cheer or interrupt that much. There's a little bit of it, but it wasn't like the first debate where they literally had to tell the audience to STFU.
There was some boos. There was some boos.
There was a couple, but it wasn't anything like the first time.
No,
they had to literally tell the audience to stop.
The crowd was not as ruckus as the contestants. Like, please stop interrupting.
There was so much
interruption. What the hell? What is this chattering on the side of the stage? Is that the audience, or is that what's going on here?
And it was funny because like they did this thing where when people would interrupt, they'd actually turn off their mics. Like at first they didn't.
Oh,
but then they started turn off people's mics. So you just hear like someone in like the background going, "It's the best baby, fuck you." Like you're like, I don't know what this guy's saying. Like, who is that? Is that DeSantis? Is that Tim Scott? Like, who's talking? Is that Burgum yelling about? Yeah.
Why didn't they cut to them? Because that would have just totally destroyed their career.
That's why.
Destroyed. Well, yeah, but I mean. Look, if you're yelling into a mic that's not even on, and I swear I heard somebody saying like, "Is this mic even on?" But I couldn't tell who it was. I was like, "Let me know." Like, cameraman, let me know. I'm not voting for that guy. There's no way in hell I'm voting for that guy.
Yeah. But so the Fox News angle is very interesting here because, like as you brought up, Fox News is really trying to press this. Listen, Latino voters,
right?
Latinx voters, okay. The Republicans don't hate you. They're not racist against you. Here's our strong, independent Latina woman who is on the panel asking questions.
Right.
And it was very interesting too because they play. So they're in like the Ronald Reagan. I don't know where they are. Ronald Reagan
Library. Yeah.
Library
here in Southern California.
Yeah. Okay. So they're in some Ronald Reagan place.
Yeah. Okay. Look, that's amazing.
They have literally this giant.
They have Air Force One that could drop on them at any moment because they're in an earthquake zone.
I'm looking. There's like inside. It looks like a giant hangar, and there's this giant airplane that's suspended above the audience. And I'd be like, the whole time it's in there, I'd just be looking up this thing like, this better not fucking crush me.
No, I'm thinking like the big one is bound to hit Southern California any minute now. Like I'm not sitting in that auditorium for 2 hours. What are you insane? I get nervous when I'm under an overpass when I'm driving on the freeway.
I'd be like, listen, put the airplane over the candidates, not over the audience. All right, let them risk it. Put them under the pressure.
Exactly.
But the thing that's interesting is that the beginning intro of this, if you remember in the first debate, the intro was what's his name, the guy singing the song.
Oh yes, yeah. Richmond, north of Richmond.
Yeah, right. And then this one was kind of like the opposite of that because it's like the exact opposite because that was all about sort of like the populist anger that is fermenting in the country. And this one was literally the opposite. It was all like, let's all salute for Ronald Reagan the man that brought in neoconservatism and neoliberalism into America. Let's all cry and clap for the man who stands completely opposite of almost everything populist currently. And I was just like, wow, this is very interesting. Is this Fox News like really taking a strong stance against right-wing populism? And I felt like a lot of the questions were sort of pointed in this way of like, I could feel like Rupert Murdoch or whatever Murdoch controls Fox News, like sticking their hands in the Fox News, like, yes, tell them that populism sucks. We need to go back to being neocons.
Yeah. All those elitist pieces of shit at Fox News. Someone even said the siren song of populism. I have it in my notes, but I can't remember who said that. I was like, whoa, okay, taking a shot directly at populism here. I don't think that's a winning strategy. You and I have had raucous debates about populism.
I mean, I'm not in favor of populism, but I just think it's interesting that it seemed to me that Fox News is coming out really hard against it and kind of really pushing the neocon angle.
Of course, because they're elitist pieces of shit at Fox News. They're totally elitist scumbags. What are you talking about? Look, this is
I don't know what the anchors are, if it's just some, whoever owns Fox News.
Look, I'm with the people.
Okay.
This is another thing they're talking. All the questions seem like they were written by Democrats. I was like, who is on the inside at Fox News writing all these questions? They're asking questions about striking workers and
yes,
and dreamers.
Right. You're right.
I'm like, what is happening here?
It was, you're right. It was interesting because it's Fox News, so you expected to be like really softball, but it was a lot of, you're right. A lot of these questions felt like they were questions that were written by Democrats.
I felt like Trump had someone on the inside here. He's like, well, let's just like get rid of these. Look, let's just sweep these candidates off the field. They're kind of boring me now. They were fun the last time when they were yelling at each other, but I'm bored now. Let's get rid of them. Well,
so they had the opening with Reagan, and they had Reagan quotes, including Reagan talking about, well, I don't know if the amnesty thing was later, I think, but had some like Reagan quotes. And then it was interesting. So then there's like the little moderator guy's like and this is still in the intro package. And he's like, what is the future of the Republican Party look like? Is it, and they literally say like, is it populism or is it something else? And then it cuts to clips of every single Republican candidate who's at the debate, except for Donald Trump, explaining like what they think Republicans are, what conservative movement is. So it's very interesting. It's like they all have a different view. So it shows everyone except for Donald Trump, who's just absent from the thing of like, what is the future of the Republican Party?
Fox News hates Donald Trump anyway.
Well, he's not there. I mean, I'm assuming if he was there, they would have showed a clip. But.
Well, I think they do hate him though. They would love to have him there, but I think one of the reasons he's not there is because he snubbed the Fox News people, didn't he?
Yeah, no, I agree. So, and that's why the first time, he went on Tucker Carlson, which was like an extra nanny boo boo because they fired Tucker
of course.
Carlson.
Exactly. Ha, look, I'm here on Twitter. I'm here on X. Look, this platform doesn't even have a proper name and I'm here.
It's just a letter.
Yeah, exactly. So the intro was super interesting. They ask, what does it mean to be a conservative? Which I'm like, what? What? You're rethinking the whole conservative brand now?
Yeah.
You don't even know what it means to be a conservative? That's how far things have gone? Wow. That just completely stood out to me. But they had the usual, how do we get this economy thriving? How do we eviscerate the federal government?
Yeah. Like,
what is our role? How do we cut the federal government to nothing and take over the entire planet?
Right.
It's so hilarious to me.
Okay, so I guess we'll get into it. So the first question is kind of interesting. They throw a bunch of, and this is, I guess, like really hits you with like, as you're saying, the Democrat questions. They hit them with like,
I know
how all these people are having all these economic problems. Gas is too high, unemployment, food, inflation. They hit them with all these things.
Right.
Okay, all these economic stuffs. They don't talk about the culture war at all.
Well, they did bring up political polarization, which is kind of culture war,
sort of, right? But they don't know no gays or transes or wokeness or anything like that. It's all
later,
like,
third act.
Later. I'm just talking about this like introduction. It's all like economic stuff.
It is, yeah.
And then they asked Tim Scott of all people the very first question.
Yep.
And this is where your Democrat question comes right at the gate. He says, "You said Ronald Reagan was ultra mega based for firing the strikers." Talking about the heroin strikers. and then I think he says the person says, Tim, you said that if they strike, they should be fired. Would you fire all the striking auto workers?
Right. You supported Reagan then. What say you now?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because if you don't know, there's like a lot of auto workers were striking or still are striking, and Joe Biden showed up on the picket lines, and
Yes.
that's what they're
Three of the
referring
big
to.
four.
Right. And so, do you remember what Tim Scott's answer was?
Let's talk about the border crisis. Am I close?
That was it. You're right. I wrote total dodge in my notes. He just went whoop dodge.
It's so hilarious when people do that. And look, this is why the moderators were out for blood.
Yes.
Oh my God, they were not letting him dodge one bit. They were like, "Excuse me, Mr. Tim Scott. The question was about the auto workers, you dumbass."
He's like, "You're right. Thank you. Now, back to why we need to build the wall." It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
He totally dodged. He just went off about immigration, which is fine. But I think Dana Perino's even like, listen, we're going to talk about immigration later in the debate, but this is a question about the strike.
Yes, totally.
And he's just like, whatever. We need to build the wall. Shut up, Dana. I'm not answering this question. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't think it looks good if you're you're asked the very first question in the debate
and you
give
dodge
like the world's most obvious dodge. It's like, okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
Look, he's thinking to himself, why did I get a Democrat question? What, am I at the right debate here?
Well, it's interesting because I guess that's the $1 million question is like, is the Republican Party in favor of the strike or against the strike? It's kind of confused. That's what's so interesting about this right now is like, I feel like all the Republicans are kind of confused about they don't really know what they should be saying to win support.
Yeah, no, they're totally lost. This was a fascinating debate just in terms of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's why kind of Vivek is like, I feel like he's like a shortstop or a cat that's trying to go in two different directions at the same time.
Yeah.
He's always like trying to do this tightrope walk where he's like trying to appeal to literally every possible Republican position, which is impossible because a lot of them are completely contradictory to each other. Because they ask him the same question. They say, well, Vivek, you said you would support the strikers. And then he said, well, listen, I don't like the union bosses, but I have sympathy with the striking workers. And I was like, oh, okay, that's like an interesting way to like try to finagle, the answer to be on both sides of it. But then he immediately pivots away. He gives like this weird kind of like almost what you expect from a Democrat. He gives this answer about how his parents had a lot of hardships growing up, with their own jobs and how labor didn't have enough power when his parents were growing up. But then, and you're like, oh, this is weird. I'm like, did I walk into like the Democrat debate? What's happening here? He's giving like a weird Democrat answer. But then he immediately does this hard right turn back into, and that's why the workers should not be protesting the auto people. They should be protesting at the White House. I was like, wait, what? They should be protesting inflation. They should be protesting the auto workers should be protesting the lack of oil drilling in America. And I'm just like, okay, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, we need growth and deregulation.
Yeah.
And Bidenomics sucks. And look, I'm not a victim.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, listen, the big problem in this country is, he's like, I support the strikers, but the big problem in this country is victimhood mentality. That's why they should be striking at the White House. I was like, I mean, and I'm thinking about this and I'm like, okay, I don't think the answer makes any logical sense.
Yeah, no clear answer on the question. Yeah.
But I wonder if it's like a decent-ish answer because it's like, okay, he's like supporting the strikers, but he's also saying that it's the Democrats' fault at the same time. So, maybe it's muddled, maybe it's not. I can't tell how like the voter is going to take it.
He took a shot at the union bosses, but it wasn't a clear answer on the problems, the worker problem. So yeah, nothing really spectacular there, obviously. No. So
the theme of this debate was dodge. I feel like almost everyone dodged almost every question. There was so little actually addressing any of the questions that were asked. Like the first one, I felt like DeSantis did a lot of dodgy DeSantis, but everyone else was sort of answering the questions. And this one was like everyone just dodging everything constantly.
Yep.
And this is why I said I think they looked at, DeSantis did the best he did the best in polling after the debate in terms of people perceptions of him. And so like, oh, well, Dodgy DeSantis dodged everything and did the best. So we got to start dodging everything in this debate.
Oh, in the last debate, he dodged everything and got
Yes.
away with it. Yeah.
Yes. Right. So I think that's why they all started just saying, listen, DeSantis dodged and he did well. So we're all going to dodge ourselves.
Right. Yeah. We'll just answer the questions that we want to answer.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Look, they're all looking for a moment. The thing about this debate was all of those rehearsed lines that they had to basically steal the spotlight and be that moment just fell flat. They were like interruptions between things. Like nobody got a solid applause line off.
Yeah, that's
true. I mean, except for maybe Chris Christie at the very end of it when he did the Donald Trump thing, but that's I don't it's so late in the game. I feel like everyone's tuned out by then. So yeah, then I guess they moved on to income inequality and pivoted over to Pence, and Pence did his Biden doesn't belong on the picket lines, he belongs in the unemployment line. And the guy coughs and he has his please clap moment. Do you have any more on that, or?
No, he gave a very boring answer. He didn't really give an answer, except he just made that he had that failed big moment, and I guess that was it. And they moved on. It's just like okay.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at him. I mean, he's kind of like looking into the camera, kind of demoralized, and I was just like, okay, like he knows it's over. He knows it's over. He's got no
he didn't
power
give up.
over
He
this
was
crowd.
saying a lot of stuff during the rest of the debate. I don't think he gave. I don't think that was the moment that Pence gave up. So I will disagree with that.
Well, it's just a giant chasm. Like, I feel like there was audience reactions in the first debate when he started doing the patriotism thing, when he was like, January 6th. Look, January 6th didn't even come up in this debate. It was like the centerpiece of the last debate.
Right.
He maybe they moved on from that. Last debate, it was like, I did my duty for the country on January 6th. And this time it's just like, move along, old timer. Like,
well, there wasn't, I mean, to be fair, there wasn't a lot of audience, as I said, there wasn't a lot of audience interaction, I think, that much in this one. There was a couple laughs and, cheers, but it wasn't like before where there was like, the audience was very raucous.
You know why?
Because they were afraid of that airplane falling on their head. It's like, if we get too loud, that airplane might get destabilized or something.
Look, it's in Southern California. All the Republicans in Southern California are like afraid to say anything.
Oh, maybe that's it. They've been trained well. There you go.
They're like, oh God, I hope the wide shot doesn't see me here.
Yeah, exactly. The people were in the front row are like, wait, do I have to be in the front row?
Yeah.
Someone could
They're
see
all
me.
Scared.
Okay. So who was after Pence?
Scott?
Yeah.
Scott was up next.
What did Scott say?
It was still on income inequality, right?
Yes.
And Scott basically gives his standard, I grew up in a single parent household in the hood speech. So I understand working class Americans.
Right.
But nothing spectacular.
Nothing substantive about what would actually change. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
He said something later in the debate. I'm not going to spoil it. He said something later in the debate that I assume that you wanted to like pull your hair out when he talked about growing the economy.
Oh, look, most of my notes are around the economic stuff because I'm just like, oh my God.
Well, most of the debate was about economic questions.
Yes. Yes.
But he made this comment that I was like, I could sense the MMT-ness in Adam going, oh my God, you idiot.
Well, look, you got to stop referring to it as MMT because it's not really MMT. It's just regular economics.
Basic economic theory.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. But we'll talk about when we get there. Okay, so then it goes to Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley.
Right.
Who was like, inflation is the real problem. That was the answer for all the people's problems and the striking auto workers. She said, inflation is a real problem. It's Biden's fault. We have to help small businesses. No one is willing to call out big businesses, which I was like, oh, I mean, that's kind of interesting. She's playing to the populism. She's willing to call out big businesses, though I don't say no. It's kind of interesting saying no one's willing to call them out because I feel like everyone is essentially calling out big businesses right now, except for maybe the Democrats, which is kind of interesting. So,
She pitched also a middle class tax cut, which I was like,
Yes,
what?
that's true.
What?
That's true. Yep.
Finally, look, middle class tax cut. That's great. Like if Republicans want to be the party of tax cutting, middle class tax cuts are the thing to do.
Yeah, give middle class tax cuts, give small business tax cuts, go after big businesses. Sure. I mean, I'm not against any of these things. I'm all in favor of that stuff. So sounds good to me.
Sure.
Then we had our good
Burgum
friend
again, yeah.
Doug
Who
Burgum.
interrupts the Spanish host to like muscle in here.
Yes. And
totally
he says
tramples all over, and I'm thinking, oh man.
And he says the same thing
that good.
He says the same thing he says in every answer to every question. He says, whatever is going on in America that's bad, it's Joe Biden's fault because the government is interfering with free markets.
Right. Yes.
And I was like, well, what does that have to do with? Because the question was about the auto worker strike. And I was like, okay, where's he going with this? What does that do with the auto worker strike? They're striking because of government interference. And his argument was that the reason they're striking is because the government is subsidizing the creation of electric cars.
Yeah, EVs.
And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, I understand the government's subsidizing that, but what does that have to do with the auto worker striking? He didn't connect the dots, so I don't know what he was talking about.
Well, not only that, the reason why the auto industry has all of these production costs is because they're switching over to EVs. They've talked about it in the worker situation. So, I mean, the EV subsidies.
Okay, so are you saying his argument is that because they're being subsidized to build EVs, they've decided they want to build EVs, which makes them change, which increases the cost because they have to change production to EVs?
That's headcanon for his argument. He didn't actually make his argument.
No, he didn't make. That's what I'm saying. But I don't even know what is the argument. Someone had to. Well,
his argument is that the government is picking winners and losers, and we need to stop doing these government subsidies. But I mean, I think EVs are inevitable, subsidies or not. So look, I guess I'm not really in favor of the subsidies. I mean, well, maybe subsidies have gotten Tesla off the ground. I don't know. I guess I really don't know much about it to have an opinion on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't
subsidy
know,
angle.
Right. I don't understand the specifics of any of the stuff, and then he didn't explain it. No one explained it. But I don't necessarily understand like logistically. So if the government was giving subsidies for them to build EVs, they would only switch to building EVs if they were making, like, that's the whole point of subsidies. Subsidies is that the government's giving a company money, which incentivizes them to do a behavior because it will be more profitable for them to do.
Right.
So the argument doesn't make sense to me that they're like, well, because we're being subsidized to do something more profitable, we're going to increase costs, which is going to make us screw over our workers. But would they do it if it was going to increase costs? Isn't that the whole point of the subsidy, is that it's to offset the increasing of the cost?
You would think, yeah. But I know they're telling the workers that they don't have the money to pay them. Also, I mean, Tim Scott said that the workers wanted more money in a 4-day work week. And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm on the workers' side.
There you go.
I want America to go down to a 4-day work week. So.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, look.
We get Monday or Friday off.
Yeah, I mean.
Or Wednesday.
Look, I'm a Fridays off kind of guy.
What about Wednesday? Just break the week in half.
That's an idea. Look, I think it's optional. Everyone should be able to choose.
They just choose it. It's not going to work that way. It's got to be uniform.
So I guess then we moved on to the government shutdown?
Yes.
Is that what you have?
Government shutdown, populism is a road to ruin.
Right.
Says the questionnaire, should voters blame populism?
Right.
Yeah, so the hosts are definitely not in favor of populism.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And Chris Christie said, so the question was, should the voters blame populism for the government shutdown? Chris Christie said, no, they should blame everyone. Donald Trump added $7 trillion to the budget. Joe Biden added $5 trillion so far. Joe Biden is hiding in his basement while Donald Trump hides behind his golf club and is not here answering these questions.
Right. The spending issue. Spending needs to stop.
Yeah, spending needs to stop. Donald Trump, Chris Christie was really pushing the Donald Trump's a coward for not being here angle, boom, boom, like constantly, 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 constantly. Um,
I really wish that Republicans would actually come up with some kind of policy proposals beyond do nothing, like
well,
beyond just cut spending.
yeah, cut spending is the answer to everything. Cut
No,
spending,
yeah,
cut
but
spending, cut
that's
spending.
just such a crutch. It's such a crutch.
Well, what else are they going to say?
I don't know. Look, I'm not even sure why. I guess we're blaming populism for the government shutdown because a bunch of people are mad at the government.
Well, no, it's
Some
because the people that want to like Matt Gaetz and the quote Freedom Caucus, who I guess are supposed to be representative of the populace, are the ones talking about shutting the government down.
right, but I
No.
mean, they're answering to their theoretical voters, right? That want the government shut
Well,
down. Why do they want the government shut down? Because they hate the government.
theoretically, I mean, I
Look,
think Matt Gaetz is doing a Ted Cruz, and he's doing the I'm gonna shut the government down so I can run for president in 2028.
look, I the Republican argument tends to be government can do nothing right.
They had that clip of Reagan saying that in the beginning of the
they
debate.
did in the very
Yeah.
beginning of the debate.
Yeah.
Reagan says the 11 most dangerous words in the world or whatever. I'm here from the government and I'm here to help or something like that.
Whatever it is.
Look, I mean, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but if you have high taxes and not a lot of opportunity and healthcare is basically milking you dry and all of the inflation that we're like everything you look at as far as America goes, I mean, it looks pretty bleak from certain perspectives. So I just like it's easy to blame the government. If things were not so bleak and the government was a well-oiled machine, I think the Republican argument kind of goes away, and that's a problem, right? Because I feel like the Republicans sometimes are really just trying to destroy the government.
Mm-hmm.
You agree, right?
I do agree completely. Yeah. I mean, that is part of one of the complications of the situation is that like how are people like I understand people want to limit the size of government, and I'm not saying this I'm not saying that's an invalid position, but it does create the complication of, well, if that's the position, then you're going to attract people that are not good at governing, because that's the goal is to just limit everything, right?
People want to limit the government because the government is so messed up.
Yeah, bulky and
inefficient.
Yeah, right.
Doing
If
nothing
people had faith
for
and
them.
trust in the government, they wouldn't necessarily want to limit it. Yeah.
Well, this is just my personal critique. Is I wish the Republicans would put forward some policies that actually could do some good in the world. But whatever.
But it's kind of conflicted because it's like, well, putting forward a policy is not necessarily limiting the government. So I think they've kind of pigeonholed themselves to some extent on a lot of economic issues into being these kind of like one note cut spending.
How about 4 kids and no taxes? There's a policy.
You're right. I mean, listen, there you go.
How about custodial voting?
Well, that's awful policy. But this debate was very light on policy, on specific policy. This debate was incredibly light on specific policy, which I don't think is necessarily a bad. Well, okay. Like, I think some of the candidates did too much specific policy in the first debate, and it came off poorly. And that's why this debate was like no policy. But I think you need to find you just throw out like a general idea. You don't have to explain it, but just give like the general idea of what you want that has something to do with the question that's being asked of you. That'd be my take on the whole thing.
This is where Donald Trump he makes all these guys look like clowns. He really does. Mm-hmm. Because Donald Trump will come out and he'll say, look, I have an answer. We're going to build a whole new city. I have an answer. We're going to buy Greenland. It's like he comes up with policy proposals. Mm-hmm. He doesn't just say, look, we need to get rid of the government. He says, no, let's do something. Look, we're Americans. Let's build new cities that we can build from scratch with all new rules and just fix it. Nobody's coming up with that. All they want to do is bitch and moan about, the debt is too high. Look, Well, everything is terrible.
You know, it's interesting. I never thought about till you said that. Like, and I don't remember because it's been a while. It's been a while. I don't remember Trump really going into the trough of we need to shrink government. We need to cut spending. I'm sure
He
he did.
doesn't.
I'm sure he did, but it's interesting. All the things that stick out in my mind are what you're saying when he would throw out these like kind of like wacky ideas like buying Greenland or, the build the wall or, all these like, and you're right. Maybe that's kind of the problem. Maybe the whole cutting spending, shrinking the government thing is just it's not persuasive. It's just not appealing to American voters.
It's dumb. It's totally dumb. Look, I've said this before. Like what it takes to run a successful economy is almost completely opposite of what it takes to run a successful business. The problem is not many people know that.
Right.
They think you should run an economy like you run a business, which, I mean, you're not going to run a great economy that way. You really aren't.
Specifically from a federal perspective, maybe the state perspective is a little bit more closer aligned to business.
Totally. State is exactly aligned with a business. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for pointing that out. That's an important distinction. But yeah,
because essentially, like the federal government's job is to provide resources for private businesses to exist,
right,
and also for state to function.
Right. Yes.
So they have a completely different goal than like what a business or even a state's goal is, which is to try to stay profitable and stay in the black. So
yes, yeah. So,
okay.
But I'll bring more of that stuff up as we get into the economic stuff. So where are we
so
at?
then after Christie gave his thing about Trump hiding in the golf club, all the candidates started talking over each other for literally 30 seconds. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And no one could understand anything that was being said.
Right.
All just started arguing with each other. They all wanted to talk.
DeSantis said, interrupts to say government borrowing and spending is the issue.
Inflation.
Biden is MIA. Trump is MIA.
Yes.
Trump added 7.8 million to the debt.
Yes.
This is where Robot Ron tried to look like a real human boy. I remember.
He did. He said, he pounded the desk. He said, I'm going to take out my pen. And he held up a pen. He said, I'm going to take out my pen. That's it. And I'm going to veto all the spending bills.
Look, guys, look. I brought a pen to the debate.
Yeah. I'm going to veto those spending bills. I was like, all right, good for him. He's going to veto all the spending.
It's my veto pen. It's my lucky veto pen.
Yes.
Right. So then they ask a weird question about daycares.
Yes.
Which I'm like, am I at a Democratic debate?
Yes.
Daycare?
They said daycares are closing down across the country.
Uh-huh.
And they said, Tim Scott, you tried to pass some legislation that had something to do with these daycares closing down, but your legislation failed. Why should anyone trust you as president to not also be a failure? Oh, wow.
I know.
Did
they really?
God. I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but
no, they were harsh. Look, they were harsh, this is a comedy show. We're allowed to do hyperbole for comedy purposes here.
Yes.
I just realized why they're asking this stupid daycare question.
Why?
Because Trump lost suburban white women voters.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares about daycare?
Suburban women.
Suburban white women.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure not just white women, but suburban women. Yeah. True.
Right. Yeah.
So then Scott had his laugh moment. I don't know if you remember. He said, Joe Biden passed his Build Back Better program, or as I call it, Build Back Broker Plan. Wow.
That cringe.
Then he pulled his bow tie and his, he honked his nose and his bow tie spun in a circle.
Build Back Broken.
Was it broken or broker? I thought it was Build Back Broker.
I thought it was Build Back Broken.
Well, whatever. Same
what
principle.
Build Back Broker? Is that like stockbroker?
No. Like you're broker now than you were before. I don't know.
Oh,
whatever.
Maybe it could have been that.
Yeah. Anyway, so he had his little laugh line. Nobody laughed or cared.
Right.
Then he said that we have to cut taxes for Americans, and we have to let them. His whole thing was we need to cut taxes for Americans to let Americans keep their money so that they can go fend for themselves, I guess, when it comes to daycare.
Yeah, he said something that I was like, what the fuck? Daycare is $15,000 per kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. What is that?
Yeah.
$1,000 a month for someone to watch your kid for a bit? I just okay. I mean, that more than $1,000.
Was he talking about
month,
for a private person or for like government spends 15,000?
You have an armed security guard or something guarding your kid? Look, I don't, maybe the so but his proposal is double the child tax credit to pay that $15,000 per year. And I'm like, well, what if you don't make 15,000? You're like, what is the tax, the double the child tax credit? How does that pay the 15,000 per year for kid if you don't make it? But I don't know. Seem crass and
yeah, not a great answer
for a guy who doesn't have kids.
Definitely hits a lot of the right-wing intuitions of cut taxes, give money back to the people. But
right. Look, I'm all for cutting taxes.
Right.
I think they should cut all the taxes.
There you go. Then Vivek came up.
Right.
This is very funny. So, like Vivek, very famously, first debate, he insulted everyone on stage and triggered everyone. And then they attacked him relentlessly and, for the rest of the debate. Right. So now he does the exact opposite. The first thing he does is he says, listen, I love every single person on this stage. Every single Republican candidate on this stage, I want to give a big handy to. Okay. Even the women on the stage after the debate, please. I love you guys so much. A
consensual handy.
I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you. Listen, it's up to you, but I want to do it to you because I love you all so much. Okay. Just being near Ron DeSantis, the energy and excitement of Ron DeSantis, I could just feel it emanating off of me. It's just charging me up. He was oh my God, he loves them all so much. It's so funny because he's just like trying to do very, very obvious, trying to do the exact opposite.
He's like, please don't mention China.
Yeah, he's like, please don't mention China, which does mention. Please, he's like, listen, guys, I'm on your side. Don't be mean to me again. I know people didn't like that I was mean to you. Listen, I'm totally on your side. We all love each other, right? I got schlocked in the polls for attacking you guys, so we all love each other, right? We're all best friends now.
And then he said, like second? I think he's second place in the polls now, so I think it worked out for him.
He is, right. But people were criticizing him heavily for like how aggressive he was.
Bro. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then they say the real divide. Then he says the real divide is between the majority of us who love America and the fringe extremist Democrats. The divide between the populist and the non-populist is a fake divide. Okay, so he's trying to say, oh, all Fox News, they're all focused on this populism versus populism. That's all BS. It's all really like the freedom-loving Republicans and the evil woke Democrats, essentially, was his answer.
Okay.
And then Doug Booger, he just kept trying to interrupt every 2 seconds. I don't know why. He kept trying to interrupt Vivek every 2 seconds, and it looked really bad.
He tries to interrupt on the childcare stuff. It's so cringe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he keeps saying, I'm the only person on stage that's ever done anything related to this question. You need to ask me this question, even though I'm the one candidate no one here cares about.
He did that same thing on the energy stuff. Like, dude, nobody cares.
Yeah.
They invited you just as a friend. Just sit over there and be supportive.
They invited you out of pity, Doug. Shut up.
I know.
It's funny because so the way it was arranged was that the person in the middle has the highest poll numbers, and then it kind of alternates going out from highest to lowest. So he's all the way at the end in the nosebleed section because no one cares about Doug.
He's at the kids' table.
Right.
He's like, that's why I want to answer on childcare. Look, I'm even at the kids' table.
Okay. So then they had the clip. They literally played the clip of Ronald Reagan granting amnesty to illegals that came to America. And they say, Chris Christie, you are a big, fat, and everyone's like, oh, flip-flopper. And they're like, oh, okay. You're a big, fat flip-flopper on this question.
This question is so brutal.
Because you originally said that you were in favor of granting amnesty to illegal immigrants that came to this country. And now you're saying you're against it. What do you have to say to America? And Chris Crispy. Krispy Kreme.
Chris Crispy. He should look. Donald Trump should call him Chris Crispy.
I can't believe he has it. I'm sure he has. I'm sure he has.
Everyone would know.
Yes.
Oh my God, that'd be so good.
Crispy. He looks directly at the camera. He slams the desk and he says, "Screw all those illegal immigrants. We're sending them back to Mexico. Get out of here."
Right. Oh,
And I was like, okay, fine, I guess.
You left out an important component of the question.
What was another?
Because the question is so brutal.
Okay,
Evidently, he said something about tracking immigrants like FedEx tracks packages. I was like, oh my God, that's brutal.
Yes.
Chris Crispy.
Yeah.
Are you going to track people like FedEx?
Yes.
Oh man.
That's true. Yeah, you said that. Yeah. And then so he just kind of super dodged. I mean, it's like he half dodged because I don't believe he gave any explanation of why his position changed. He just said, send them all back. Send them all back.
No.
I'm strong immigration. Strong immigration. I was like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, he wants to deport people, but
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It might actually be time to like hammer out some sort of immigration policy.
True.
Look, it would help. The Democrats are taking advantage of the fact that there's no solid immigration policy just to let everyone in as potential Democratic voters. I mean, it might be time to actually go to the table and talk, right? I guess they're worried about their voters because their voters are like, no one, never, ever, no immigration, right?
Well, there's only besides Nikki, who she answered next, there's only one policy that was given on immigration besides build the wall or secure, like a vagueness, generalness of secure our borders, whatever that means.
Right.
And that was to, go and invade Mexico. But that was really for more of the cartel
I know.
stuff. That wasn't really for like
God.
the immigration stuff. So Nikki responds after Christie, and she's the only one that gave a policy on this. And you know what policy she didn't 100% say it, but she was kind of alluding to my policy, your boy Sitch's policy. She's like, we just need to catch them and then deport them back. Now she didn't go full on get rid of amnesty granting at the border. I'm so shocked none of Republicans have ever suggested this. Even if that's not like feasible, I'm just shocked that none of them have ever suggested this.
What, turn them away at the border?
Yeah, just say we're no longer even going to consider amnesty at the border.
I think they have to do some legal wrangling to do that.
Who cares? This is the election, baby. You can just say whatever you want.
Oh, I guess you're right. You're right. Yeah,
you're
exactly right.
Right. So she said, we have to stop catch and release. We have to go to catch and deport. And then she said, secure the border, stop illegal immigration, blah, 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 blah.
Defund sanctuary cities as well.
Defund sanctuary cities, yeah.
Which, I mean, if the cities are getting a bunch of federal money and they're coming out and saying, look, we don't care about federal policy, I don't know, make them think twice about that. Seems like a pretty good plan to me.
Sure, I agree.
So,
and then,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and then, so the next question was, China invested in Latin America heavily. Are you comfortable with China deepening ties with Latin America? To which DeSantis responds saying, the people in our government right now are all China simps. They're all simping for China. We're going to have a real military power in the oceans outside of China, which I thought was an interesting answer because I know a lot of people in the Republican Party are kind of isolationists, and he was saying that they're going to put military forces in the ocean outside of China, whatever that means.
As soon as we're done cutting the government by 75%, we're going to send nuclear submarines to the Indochina Pacific. Look, it's just this stuff drives me insane. It's like Republicans constantly complain about how Democrats want it both ways. Well, you guys want it both ways just as much. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, it's always cut everything but the military, right?
Sure.
So it's like shrink everything else, but keep the military big, I guess, would be the answer.
Just what you want.
Right.
You want a giant military with no administrative state to make sure that it doesn't do anything nasty.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That's a good point. And then he says that America should become economically independent from China, which is interesting. And then he says, ban anyone from China owning land in America. We're going to choose strength, not to surrender to the CCP. Now, all these answers, I'm like, okay, fine, maybe, whether I'm in favor of these policies or not. None of this has to do with the question, which is, how do you stop China from strengthening its relations with Latin America? So,
Well, look, our audience knows that I've recently changed my party affiliation so that I could vote in the Republican primary. Look, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is not necessarily a good direction for the country. I think it's kind of a going backwards a little bit. I know.
You mean Donald Duck?
Yeah,
Zip-a-da-zoo!
I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I fully understand that joke, but
okay,
we'll get into it
when we get there. Yeah.
So, but Ron DeSantis did said something here that made me think. Look, I'm voting as far as it goes. I'm voting for Ron DeSantis in the primary as it goes. He said he banned the sale of land to CCP people in Florida.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Why is that? Did you say Chinese or you say specifically people in the CCP government?
Just, I think, from foreign purchasers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, and he said, look, we need to do that across the United States. And I keep thinking, hell yeah, we do.
I'm on board.
What are you talking about? I can't believe this is a thing.
Yeah.
So foreign nationals can just buy our property and just let it sit empty because they live in some place where they're worried about the state collapsing and they want our land, our homes to be their piggy bank? Look, it's bad enough that Americans do that. We're letting foreign nationals do that? Hell no.
I don't know if I would agree if only, I don't know if they're like buying land and just keeping it empty. I'm assuming that's not what's happening. I'm assuming
that's what they said in the debate.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's actually, but I don't know if that's what actually happened.
You don't know
I'm
if
assuming
it's
what's
true?
going on is that they're investing in American real estate because it's just the market. And we have free markets, so anyone who wants to spend money on it can spend money on it, including people from other countries, right?
Yeah, let's change that law. We literally we have a housing shortage. Like,
yeah, maybe
this is BS.
Yeah, but they're not living. I don't think they're living. Wait. I don't think they're living in the house.
I don't care if they're renting the house out.
Okay.
Look, I'm serious. Tell these people
wouldn't that wait a minute. If we banned foreign people from being able to own land in America, would that not decrease demand for land and thus decrease house production?
Look, if they want to buy property to run a business or something like that, look, right. I'm listening, right?
Okay.
If they want to buy property just as investment property to rent out to Americans, hell no. Hell no.
I'll say, listen, my intuition, I 100% agree with you. I don't want, I mean, 100%, I don't think there should be anyone that involved with the CCP government should be able to buy land. And my intuitions tell me that, I don't think anyone from China should be able to buy land in America. But I don't know what kind of effect that would have on, the free market. So.
Look, if we have families that want to buy single family homes and those families are being outcompeted by Wall Street businesses who are turning around and turning them into rental properties, regardless of if they're foreign nationals or not. I mean, it's worse if they're foreign nationals, but I don't think we should do that either. Okay. I think Americans, look, we need to really rethink our housing policy here. We need families, owner occupied buyers to be first in line for all property. That's the way it needs to be.
Okay.
Like this idea that you're forcing people into the rental market because investors are buying up all the property is just a giant FU to young people. It's a giant FU to hardworking Americans.
Right.
Like, I'm fully against that.
I agree completely. I don't know how you would do that, but I agree with.
Look, it's called law. It's called laws.
No. Okay, that's not what I meant. But
okay, look,
whatever.
if you're, let's move on. You should
let the get through.
If you have, look, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it.
We have a lot of questions to get to tonight, Senator. I don't know if that.
Well, look, this is. I just want to bring this up because this is definitely a point in DeSantis's favor right here. Like the idea that we're letting foreign nationals buy up our property.
Yeah.
And use America as their piggy bank. has to stop. And
Okay.
Ron DeSantis is saying, look, I did it in Florida. I'm going to do
Right.
it in America.
There you go.
This debate is very light on substance. That was one of the substantive
True.
things that was said. Yeah.
Okay.
So Scott tries to interject. Cringe. Yeah. That's what I wrote. Why does he keep interrupting? Cringe.
Scott did a lot of interrupting in this debate. And I don't think it looked good for him. So
he said, like, we're a country in surrender, muttered under his breath.
Right. No.
I just the moderators they were devils. They were not having it. You just need to stay in line once you realize.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question was Vivek. They said, Vivek, you want to end birthright citizenship and expel children.
This is so. Oh,
and man. I was like, ooh, okay, that's a good question. So Vivek, he goes up to the mic, he looks around, he says, everyone on this stage is the most based person on the planet. I want everyone on the stage to know that I love you all individually. Okay. If you all want, after this event, can you all sign my autograph book, please? Can you sign my yearbook? I want all of you to sign my yearbook, and let's take a photo of us all hugging, because I love you guys all so much on the stage. That being said,
that's how you pictured it?
Yes. That's what he said. He said everyone on the stage is based.
Okay.
But then after that, then he says, and he actually answers the question. Then he says, we need to militarize the southern border and end aid to Mexico. I was like, okay. And then he said he was in favor of ending birthright citizenship. And his argument here, which to me sounds really stupid.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the legality of this, but it sounds really probably 100% not true, was that he argued that, well, I mean, I do give him credit for at least giving an argument, because usually no one ever gives arguments in these debates. He says that the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to illegals because it doesn't apply to Mexican diplomats.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, but doesn't it have something to do with them having diplomatic immunity or something?
Well, and they have citizenship. They're literally a diplomat in the nation that they're from. So, but
yeah,
I mean, look, I think if a diplomat had a baby that was born in the United States and they wanted to apply for dual citizenship, if that was a thing, they probably could. Probably half a dozen Canadian diplomats that have dual citizenship.
It says most children born in the U.S. are U.S. citizens at birth. One of the very few, if not the only exception to this rule, is that children born in the U.S. to foreign diplomat officers do not receive U.S. citizenship at birth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But my understanding is that there's a very specific carve out somewhere that specifically says, because it's where I said, okay. So if you look up on the U.S. website for citizenship and immigration, it says a person born in the United States to a foreign diplomatic officer accredited to the United States is not subject to the jurisdiction of United States law. Therefore, that person cannot be considered a U.S. citizen at birth under the 14th Amendment. Because the 14th Amendment says that anyone who's subject to U.S. law that's born in the U.S. gets birthright citizenship.
So I have an idea.
Yeah, but so then Vivek said, well, illegal immigrants aren't subject to U.S. law. I'm like, yes, they are. What are you talking about? When
we let them in at the border, we make them diplomats. What do you think?
Yeah, but then that would give them diplomatic immunity. You don't want to do that. That's worse.
Damn it! I thought I had the perfect solution.
Right. So I was like, okay, I give him credit for answering the question, but I'm pretty sure that's just completely wrong. But all right, whatever. So I mean, it would take a constitutional amendment. I'm pretty 100% sure it would take a constitutional amendment to change birthright citizenship. You couldn't just do it with a normal law or executive order. So
right.
Anyway, so that was his answer. Then
so he's going after the babies.
Yeah. Also, I don't think to me, it's weird. I just don't perceive it as being a popular take. Because, people are going to perceive it as you perceive it, as like they're going after the babies, which, totally. You don't want to be that guy, right?
Of course, yeah.
Why wouldn't you
just the baby is innocent?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would you go for ending birthright citizenship before you go with and just turn everyone away from the border?
Yeah, that seemed like a huge stumble by Ramaswamy. It comes off as callous and cold when he's kind of got a reputation for being callous and cold.
Right. So then Scott responded to that saying the 14th Amendment was about slavery, not immigration. And I was like, all right. And then he calls out Vivek for Vivek being a jerk in the last debate.
Right.
And he says that Vivek is in bed with China, just like Hunter Biden. And everyone in the crowd went, oh, snap.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
He said, look, Vivek, at the last debate, you said we were all bought and paid for. But I looked around. And it seems like maybe you're bought and paid for. This is great. So many people hit him with this because it was like an instant dog pile as soon as this came up. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, yeah, I kind of heard that too. What, Vivek, what's up with this China business that you were in bed with the CCP and all that? Yeah. Pandemonium completely breaks out. But just before we move on to that, like the birthright citizenship thing, he said that had to do with slavery. So I don't know anything about the history of the 14th Amendment, but that was basically to say that
slaves are citizens.
Slaves are citizens. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Which is true. My understanding, that is why it was passed. So.
Okay. But so it became kind of a loophole for undocumented migrants.
Yeah, because the way the laws, it just says if you're subject to U.S. laws and born in the U.S., you become a citizen. That's all it says. Right. So, I mean,
Sitch likes to call them illegals.
There you go. So listen, I ain't no wokey. Okay, I ain't use PC language, but
I know. Look, it's interesting.
No, but I haven't done research.
You're the more.
I'm the more right wing person here, obviously. I haven't done research on it, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the immigration situation was at the time that the 14th Amendment passed, so maybe it wasn't even conceived of at the time that they were thinking about this. But I would be kind of shocked if the people that wrote the law didn't think about how this would relate to immigration, because it so obviously would. So
Vivek, he immediately gets on the bike and starts backpedal. He's like, oh, yes, well, we did open a company in China. Backpedal.
Wait, before we get to that. So it's funny. So after Scott, slams him, right?
Right.
Scott
body blow. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. Tim Scott jumped up to the top rope and he did a massive atomic elbow drop on Vivek's face.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then every other person on stage picked up one folded chair and they all start surrounding Vivek like they're all gonna just beat the crap out of him. Then Vivek is like, wait a minute, everybody stop. Listen, please listen. He's bleeding profusely, and they're like, everyone just paused for a second. He said, I said that you're all. He's like, listen, you're all good people who have just been tainted by a corrupt system. And they go, oh, shut up. And they'll just start beating him the deaths of the chairs. Like, you call us tainted? You were sleeping in bed with China. Bam, 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 bam. And he's like, shut up. I can't talk. Moderator, save me. Moderator, save me. The referee blows whistle and everyone stop hitting Vivek with chairs. Okay. Give him a 5 seconds breather. Let him actually respond. And then everyone grumbles and go, okay, Vivek, what are you going to say?
Right.
And what did Vivek say, Adam?
Well, he said that, look, he was in bed with China for a spell. But as soon as he found out that they were bad, he got out. He ran. He ran for the hills.
I didn't know they were bad when I started banging China. I didn't know she was bad. Okay.
Right.
I thought my parents were just being overprotective when they said China was no good for me.
Right. So,
did you remember what Nikki said in response to that?
Well, Nikki got in, and so did DeSantis get in.
Yeah.
A lot of them were just saying, yeah, what's up with these deals with the CCP? What happened with that? Is that really?
So he said, yeah. So he makes his argument oh, yes, I was in bed with China, but I got out as soon as I knew they were bad. And Nikki's like, you mean as soon as you started running for president? Oh, yeah.
I
was like, oh. And then Tim Scott kept trying to interrupt. And then DeSantis did what DeSantis do, where he's like, listen, I am the great unifier of the Republican Party. All this infighting is a waste of time. Stop it. We need to be productive. I was like, shut up, lame-o.
Yeah, look, hit him a couple more times before you do that.
Everyone's beating up Vivek, and DeSantis is like, stop, pay attention to me. I was like, no, I want to watch the blood. Okay, so then they have a question on. They asked.
Well, no.
Okay.
Pence.
Oh no!
Delivered the final body
he did,
blow.
But he does. But we're not there because they asked Pence a question
Okay.
about DACA.
Okay.
Which is another immigration question.
Okay.
And
DACA.
that's when Pence says, before I answer this question, let me just run up and kick Vivek right in the balls.
Exactly.
Okay.
Look, he's still on the floor bleeding, and he's like, before I answer this question, I have something I need to do. Whack!
People's elbow, bam, right in the side. Vivek's like, oh. You remember what the zinger was?
Well, go ahead. I know
he
you know it.
He says, I'm pretty sure Vivek pulled his business out of China around the same time he first started voting.
I know. While you were off gallivanting with China and not voting in American elections.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was kind of redeeming for Pence. I give him permission to be at the debate now.
Yes, though I don't know if everyone got the reference, because the reference was, I think Vivek famously said he didn't vote his entire life until 2020.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, they're like, oh, okay, you didn't pull out of China until Also, it made him look young. It was a very good zing because it makes him look young. You're like, oh, is he not voting because he's like a small child or something?
Right.
So and then he talks about DACA.
He gets his hit. He gets his hit in.
Yes.
And then so he's looking good, but the host immediately eviscerates him.
What did the host say?
Well, because Pence, the question is about DACA, but he goes on to talk about like securing the border or something.
Yes.
Right. And the host basically chimes in and is like, dude, the question is about the Dreamers. What's going on here?
Yeah. Should the Dreamers be allowed to stay, or should they be deported?
Right. Yes.
Yep.
So then,
which he didn't answer.
So he's not answering, and the host basically chimes in and says, the question's about the Dreamers, dude. And so he goes on to talk about cutting government spending. And he never answers a question. It's a total dodge.
And then he looks over at DeSantis, who didn't bloody himself up with Vivek, and is like, you need some blood on you. And he runs over and he slaps DeSantis across the face and he says, you raised the debt in Florida and the Florida budget. Don't tell me about government spending, biatch.
Right.
And then DeSantis actually didn't answer that. Or they didn't allow DeSantis, I don't think, to answer that question. So.
Right.
Okay. The next question was...
We're done with immigration, right? And DACA, we're moving on to crime.
Oh, actually, no. I think there was a commercial break. Everyone started arguing, and there was a commercial break.
Right. So, okay.
So then the next question was, how will you make America safer with rising crime?
Right. Now we're finally into Republican territory here, but not for very long.
There you go. Chris Christie says he set records for numbers of prosecutions in New Jersey, that he will put AGs in place to crack down on cities, whatever that means. None of them really, well, one person did, but he didn't really explain what that meant. How would the federal AGs crack down on local city crime? Then he attacks Trump and says, this was kind of funny. I don't know if it'll play well with the base, but he said, Donald Trump, I know you're watching me right now. You can't help it, but you're not here because you're too afraid to defend your record. Well, if you keep ducking these debates, we won't call you Donald Trump. We'll call you Donald Duck.
Right. To which he got a smattering of booze.
Yeah, he put his big grin on his face for his big funny joke, and then people in the car were like, boo.
Yeah.
Boo. That was lame. Cringe.
They did not. Yeah, they did not like it. So
yeah, the Donald Duck joke didn't land. He also messed it up because I told it better than he did. He had too long gap. He had too long a gap between ducking debate and Donald Duck. So when he got to Donald Duck, you're like, what?
Yeah, you didn't get the ducking debate portion of it. Look, right. I didn't even get that until you just said it.
Yes, right. That was the joke. He was ducking debates, they're gonna call him Donald Duck. Right. I was like, oh, it's like a dad pun. I was like, I
know. Oh. You know how I feel about puns.
I do. So, okay. So then there was another crime question about the same question. DeSantis. Right? Yeah, DeSantis talked about the decay of America.
Right.
And then this whole thing was kind of just like, and a lot of this debate was focused around like immigration and crime is all like safety. America is an unsafe place. We need to increase safety in America. We need to deport all the illegals. We need to stop crime. And then he said, He said, "We back the blue in Florida. We have 50-year low of crime in Florida." I have no clue if this is true. And
Good
then he
for
said,
you. I'm jealous.
I mean, it's good if that's true, but I have no clue if it's true. Then he said, "We're going to bring back civil rights cases against the state attorney generals."
Yeah,
And
the
I thought,
Soros prosecutors.
yeah. And I didn't know what he meant by that. He was going to sue state attorney generals under civil rights cases. But unless he's saying that, like, because the fact that they're not going after crime, that they're somehow violating the rights of the equal protection of citizens, which maybe is what he was talking about. If that's what he's talking about, I think that's interesting because he was the only person, again, who was giving some kind of actual policy about how you
Right.
would actually use the federal government to try to impact state AGs and state crime, if that's possible. I don't know. That could just be a completely fanciful idea, but
Yeah, I don't know if the DOJ has any power over state because all
not
the
directly.
crime is state laws, right?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he was saying if they could somehow try to sue the state AGs for under violating independent citizen civil rights, which I don't know if that's ever been done for not going after crime. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I think this will be a popular policy with Republicans, definitely.
Right.
So
Haley goes on to say we need to take care of cops.
yes,
Got to stop, catch, and release.
yes, law and order, yeah.
Then back to China, she talks about antibiotics need to be made at home.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true. She said the number one antibiotic we get from China is also made in Texas, but not allowed to be sold or bought in America. I didn't really understand what she was talking about. I don't know if it's true. If it is true, it sounds wacky. But then we had
Right.
then they're like, okay, listen here, governor of North Dakota. No one cares about you at all. He's been trying to interrupt on every question. He's been trying to interrupt. And I keep telling him to shut up because no one cares about him. They're like, okay, we're going to finally ask you a question, Governor Boogum, whatever your name is. And they're like, well, let's ask you a question that no one cares about. How are you going to curb gun violence in America? Here's your Democrat question.
No, it's even more Democrat than that. It's
Right.
like gun violence is really bad for Latinos. What's up with that?
You're right. Yeah. Right. They talk
Right?
about mass shootings. And
It's like, look, it's Latinos that are suffering under the gun violence.
Right.
How are you going to help them?
Yeah, I listen. I don't know what the demographic breakdown of North Dakota is. I don't know if they have a big Latino
I know.
population.
There's like 6 Latinos in the whole state.
And then his answer was, the liberal left just wants to prosecute law-abiding gun owners and take away the Second Amendment. Then he started saluting, and an eagle flew down and landed on his shoulder. And he said, these violent cities have the strictest gun laws, so we need to get back to mental health and family issues and need stricter law enforcement. I said,
great.
Sure, okay, whatever. Boring, though. Next question.
Well, Pence says, can I answer the question? No, shut the fuck up. Okay. So they move on to Ramaswamy.
Right. And they
God,
said,
it's so cringe. It's so cringe when they ask and they tell him no. It's like, it immediately says, not my president.
Yeah, you're right. It's very emasculating.
It is.
Yes.
Oh, God. So Ramaswamy.
So the question to Vivek was, fentanyl is being smuggled in the country by U.S. citizens. What are you going to do about that? And it's something like, I forget the numbers, like 50% or 40%. Are you going to do something? I don't know why it would matter if it's U.S. citizens versus non-U.S. citizens, but whatever. And then Vivek's answer to this was, the wall is not enough. We need to use the United States military to seal the border. They're tunneling under the border. They're driving trucks underneath the border. And I was like, okay. I don't know if this is true, by the way, but okay. And he says, we have a mental health problem in the country. They're lacing drugs with fentanyl. We need to go back to faith-based approaches that restore meaning and purpose in people. Which, again, he said this the first time. I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know if that means they're going to pray the drugs away. And then he says, kids should not be using addictive social media products.
Right.
So he kind of had like the shotgun approach of just like throwing out like 6-7 different things about, drugs.
Right. Kids are buying fentanyl on Snapchat.
Yes, that comes up later. Yeah. He actually later in the debate says that he's in favor of banning social media for any kid under 16. I was like, oh.
Right.
That's not going to be popular.
Yeah, I mean, does that include voice chat on Counter-Strike?
No. I mean, social media. So
Okay.
I don't know if that
So
includes Discord though, but
so DeSantis, I don't know what the question is, but he
it's the same
answers it.
question.
Okay, same question. He agrees with Vivek, and he wants to go. He wants to use the military to go after the drug cartels.
Right.
Which, I mean, I think him and Nikki Haley were kind of, yeah, we just need to invade Mexico and take care of business.
Yeah, she said later. She said that there'd be special operations, which not quite
I
like an
know.
invasion. It's like, what does that mean? I guess it's like, they're gonna have SEAL Team 6 go in there and take them out. Um, yeah, I don't. It's annoying because I don't understand enough about the situation because it seems like very simple. Like, why don't they just go there and kill all the drug cartel people? Like, it can't just be that
You
simple.
can't do that.
I'm just assuming it's not that simple because if it was that simple, we would have done it already, right?
There's a question that comes in later where the guy is like, the president of Mexico has evidently called everyone in the last debate that was talking about, just invading Mexico in this cloak and dagger type way, called them scoundrels. And the
Right.
host is like, "Are you a scoundrel?" I can't remember who.
Yeah.
She
And they're
asked,
like, no,
but
we're just based.
yeah,
I'm in fate. Listen, if that would work, if it would literally work where you could just have the military go in and kill these cartel people, and that would actually solve the problem. I mean, I'm 100% favor of that. I'm assuming that's not that simple. So,
yeah, I guess. Look, we have innocent until proven guilty here in the United States, but the good thing is they're not in the United States.
there you
They're
go.
in Mexico.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I
but
just
okay.
look. This is. I don't look. I'm a little.
I would
I don't know that this
imagine
is a good idea.
I would imagine that they know who the big cartel heads are. I don't think it's a question of like innocent
Right.
until proven guilty. So I could be
Yeah, I don't.
wrong,
I
but
don't know. I don't know. It is
anyway.
kind of like
Mhm.
if someone was doing that in the United States, if China came over and they were like, "We're gonna murder your drug dealers," I don't know.
Yeah, we
That's
obviously wouldn't like that. But then again, Mexico's like a country that's like ravaged by cartels and corruption.
right. Well, I
And
mean, they're working on it.
I mean, I hope so.
They're coming closer to American standards.
Okay, that's good if that's
Yeah,
true.
I think so. I think they're
Okay,
on the path,
I hope so.
on the narrow corridor to liberty.
All right, we'll see. So the next question was,
Healthcare.
yeah, they go to Pence. And they said the moderator looked at Pence. They said, "Look here, you motherfucker,
Right.
Mike Pence, you old man, you."
Mm-hmm. You
You
old piece of
said,
shit.
yeah, he said, "You piece of crap." Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he said, "You and Donald Trump claimed that you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you didn't. You losers. You didn't
Right.
repeal crap. Why should the Americans trust you to deliver anything?" I was
Right.
like, "Wow, that's jeez, rough question. Oh my god."
Yep.
Um,
Tough.
and then Pence responded by saying, "Well, he wanted to talk about mass shooting first," which was a question that was asked to Berger like 10 minutes ago, and I was like,
The one that
okay,
he got cut off, the one that he wanted to answer, but she said, "No, shut the fuck up."
yeah,
So he's like,
okay,
he's back. He's bitter. He's like, "I never got to answer that mass shooting question.
right.
I'm going to answer it now."
So Mike Pence has a very interesting policy on how to stop mass shootings. So I was like, all right.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Let's talk about
So
that.
he's like, "I'm sick and tired of mass shootings." I was like, okay, that's good. I'm going to Congress to pass a federal death penalty for
Right.
anyone involved in a mass shooting. We have to mete out justice.
Right. They're
And I was
dead in
like,
24 hours or less.
yeah. And then he looks at DeSantis and he said, "It's insane to me that some mass shooter in Florida is not going to be put to death. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison."
Right.
And I was like, "That's stupid."
Oh,
I ever
really?
thought that's stupid. I was like, okay, I don't even care. Like, honestly, go kill all the mass shooters. That's fine with me. I
Right.
don't care about that whatsoever. Go kill them. Give them all death penalty. Burn them alive. That's fine with me, right? Doesn't matter because the whole thing was about stopping mass shootings. and the majority of these mass shooters kill themselves or get shot by the police. So how is this going to be an effective deterrent?
Yeah. I mean, how about if we give like $100,000 bonus to the cop that gets the guy?
I don't think it's, I mean, maybe, sure. But the question was on like, how do we deter mass shootings, and saying that we're going to give all the people who kill themselves after they commit the crime the death penalty doesn't seem to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good
kind of
point.
missing the point,
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I don't know. Okay, Pence, whatever.
I don't know if that's even possible to do that. I mean, various states have outlawed the death penalty. I don't know if the state outlaws the death penalty, if the federal government can come in and say, well, too bad for you, we're going to kill him.
Well, you'd have to. Well, the question would be, could the federal government, and I don't know enough about this to answer the question, could the federal government pass a law that categorizes mass shootings or some category of mass shooting as a federal crime?
Right.
So that it would be under federal jurisdiction.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Right. And then it would be a federal death penalty for that. So
interesting.
Right.
So then one of my favorite moments of the night, so he's having a back and forth with this host, right? She didn't let him answer the mass shooter question earlier, told him to shut the fuck up. Right. Now he's answered it, and she quips back, yeah, the question's about Obamacare, bitch. You got 9 seconds.
Yeah, so in the question she asked,
you got 9 seconds, she tells him.
So it was Dana Perino who asked the question, and in the question she said, specifically, you failed to repeal and replace Obamacare. Does that mean Obamacare is here to stay? And then Pence gives this whole thing about the death penalty for mass shooters. And then Dana says, yeah, I appreciate that. But does that mean Obamacare is here to stay? And the crowd laughed. I was like, oh, how embarrassing. Like the crowd all laughed at that. They're like, ah, ha, ha, loser.
Yes.
Yes.
Look, no one's voting for Pence, okay? His poll numbers tomorrow are in the negative numbers.
Yes. So then Pence's answer here was really weird.
Mm-hmm.
He said Donald Trump had a plan. Donald Trump planned to consolidate and did consolidate power in Washington, D.C., and that Pence's plan is to return power to the states and give the money and power back to the states give the money and power back to the states, and that also he would shut down the Department of Education and give that back to the states. I don't know what it has to do with Obamacare, but okay.
I wrote down Obamacare refunds, and I can't even remember what he was talking about, but
he just said that they were going to somehow dismantle Obamacare and give it back to the states.
Look, Obamacare is one of their favorite punching bags. I'm no fan of Obamacare. I do think we need to work on our healthcare system.
Oh, sure. But the question was Dana Perino said, you and Donald Trump
made a promise. Yeah.
You said you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. The Republican Party had complete control. I don't know if they had a supermajority, but they had a normal majority of the Senate and the House for 2 years while you were president, and there was no movement on repeal and replace. Why should we trust you to do it now? I think it's a completely valid question, and we didn't get an answer. So okay. The next question was, can Americans trust you? Oh, they go to Ron DeSantis.
And these moderators are shooting for blood here.
They're out for blood. Yeah, he pulled out a bloody knife. And he's like, now that we've just eviscerated Pence.
Yeah.
He goes, Ron DeSantis, why should Americans trust you to fix anything, including insurance, when Florida is one of the states that has the biggest insurance problems in the country, and one of the highest ranking states in terms of individual people not having insurance?
26 million Americans don't have health insurance in Florida. Yeah.
Were they only talking about health insurance, or is it just because I thought they're also like tying it into a lot of Floridians have problems with home insurance. Home insurance prices are like through the roof, and DeSantis hasn't really done anything to fix it.
I think it was health insurance because they were talking about healthcare. Yeah, Obamacare.
Maybe. Right.
26 million. I wrote down 26 million Americans don't have health insurance. And he completely... this is weird. Like, overspending is to blame for everything. It's like, what?
Yes. Yeah, of course.
The government has spent too much money, and that's why 26 million Americans don't have health insurance?
Yes. Well, DeSantis, he reached into, there's that trough.
Right.
I don't know if you guys saw this when you watched the debate. You can't see it. You can only see it in certain shots because all the
Right.
candidates have these big podiums,
All the
right?
canned responses behind them.
Yeah, there's a big trough like right next to them that has like it's got like all like the fortune cookie wisdom of all the like Republican sayings that you've all heard a million times. So he just reached in there and he pulled it out and he's like, Biden economics, we need to cut rules and regulations. We will become energy dominant and we will go after big government and big pharma.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I don't know how that's going to help people buy insurance, but whatever.
He did say big pharma, big healthcare, and big
Yes.
government are in collusion, which
Yes.
I think there's some actual truth to that. I would
Yeah, I
like
don't
to
disagree.
know. Yeah. Look, I would like to know how you're going to fix
What are you
that.
going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly. So it would look, how amazing would it be if they actually brought up the thing I'm always bringing up about Obamacare doing the 80-20 rule and it actually making our healthcare more expensive. Like,
Yeah.
they need to fix that.
Again, I'm fine with people not giving like really specific policy
I'm
prescriptions.
not.
Well, okay. I don't think they're very persuasive in most of these debates, but you got to give something more specific than like we need to cut regulations and go after big pharma. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
I just
That's
think
good.
none of these people know how to fix it.
Well,
And they don't give
that's
specific answers. Yeah.
right. And then the questioner interrupted him and said, "Yes, but the record in Florida is worse than the national average. Why?" And his response was weird. He said the reason our insurance average is worse in Florida is because we don't have a lot of welfare benefits.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay. What is it was weird because I was like, oh, are you saying that so because you don't have welfare in Florida, people can't buy insurance? That's a bold answer, Cotton. And then I think he kind of realized how bad it sounded, and he immediately changed his answer to our employment and jobs are the best of all the big states. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. So then why don't people have insurance then? So I was
Because
like,
they're
okay,
picking Florida oranges, man.
yeah, I don't know. But so anyway, it wasn't a good answer, it was a bad answer. So the next question was to Nikki Haley said healthcare accounts for 2/3 of all bankruptcies in the country, which is crazy. And
Right.
Nikki Haley says, how can we be the best country in the world with the most expensive healthcare? And I was like, wow, okay. So didn't expect that answer. And then she said, I will break the industry, make everything more transparent, which I know you're a big fan of.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. She kind of gave a story about how her mother, I think, was given some super expensive Tylenol at the hospital that she didn't even
Oh,
want, and they even
yeah.
have an option to turn it down. Everything's already paid for. And I thought that was a good answer or a good story to bring up about how, like, very often in the hospital, you don't even have a choice. Like, no one even says, like, oh, are you going to pay for this? You want this? Blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah.
Here's a $45 aspirin.
Right. And then
Take it.
even when they do, because I know, like, when I've been to family members that have gone to hospitals and stuff, or had to have extended stays at hospitals, I never had like they'd say like, "Oh, do you want XYZ?" And then they would like scan it because they're going to charge you for it, but they never
Yeah.
tell you like it costs this much money. Like it's never discussed
Of course. That's how they
in the
screw
patient,
you.
right? But then again, it's also not elastic good, so it's kind of messed up that this is like how we have to like. You don't want to be in like a hospital room and you're like in pain. They're like, well, listen, we can give you the painkiller, but it's going to cost you like $100. Like, it's just no one wants that conversation. So, but then she was funny because she also threw in. I was like, okay, that was a good answer. But then she kind of like threw in the old Republican chestnut, which I was like weird. I don't think it fits with the rest of these answers, where she says that she wanted to go after tort law, which is the old classic. We need to reduce doctors' malpractice insurance, which
As if
translates
it's
into
not all dirt cheap already.
right. Well, which translates into we want to protect doctors from being able to be sued after they, give you bad medical care,
Yeah.
which, that was an issue that Republicans have been pushing for many, many, many years. I haven't really heard Republicans talk about it now. I'm not sure that that's an issue that the Republican base would be in favor of because doctors are probably seen as elites nowadays and people are kind of pissed off with everything related to medical care. So I'm not sure that was a good angle for her to push on, though. I think she said it kind of like under her breath, so maybe most people didn't catch it or know what she was talking about. But
Right.
and then Burgum interrupted. He's like, "Listen, we're not talking about the real problem. Every time he talked, he said, we're not talking about the real problem. I know what the real problem is. Okay.
Right.
He said, you know why healthcare is so bad in America? Do you know, Adam, why healthcare is so bad in America? I bet you don't know why. The governor of North Dakota, am the sole person in all of human existence that knows why healthcare in America is so bad.
Right. And Mr. Burgum, if you could actually communicate worth a shit, I might actually know the reason too. But since, look, I didn't understand his answer at all. It seemed like maybe it
I
might be a
have it. I know what he
problem.
said. I understood it. He said the reason that healthcare in America is so bad, get this, is because the federal government subsidized all healthcare workers to use the same piece of software. And that piece of software they used is so bad that it made healthcare across the entire country just suck.
Look, how is that? Explain the logic of that to me.
I don't know.
He's basically saying, look, the government forced everyone to buy this healthcare software.
Yeah.
And it ruined healthcare.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, what?
He's like, you know how when you're talking to a doctor and they turn around and they're just typing on their computer for a super long time? It's because they're using this bad government subsidized software. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that why healthcare is so expensive in America?
When I go to my doctor, he's got like iPads and stuff. It doesn't seem like he's using some out-of-date software.
So yeah, I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So okay.
Burger not doing very good.
Burgum
Booger not
speaks
doing
again.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He strikes again. Schools.
But it's weird because they asked Nikki Haley a second question, which is they said,
on healthcare?
No, education in America, school choice. Oh, okay. So then they said, okay, they're kind of doing the whole like we're attacking all the candidates. So now it's their turn to attack Nikki. And they said, Nikki, you're in favor of school choice, but your state doesn't have school choice until 2027. People can't wait 4 years. They need an answer now. How are you going to solve this question? And she said, too many of our students are all dum-dums. We have to make sure our kids can read. We need transparency in the classroom. So I was like, okay, that's good. We need school choice. All education programs should be moved from federal to state level, which I know is very big in Republican circles, even though I don't think it's feasible. And then she said we need to bring back vocational training back to schools and then get rid of CRT. It was interesting because her saying get rid of CRT was one of the few actual applause lines so far that we've heard in the debate was talking about getting rid of CRT. Yeah. Nothing else she said got an applause line, but that did.
No more DEI, no more CRT. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yep. Let's see. The next question was to Christie saying minorities are doing poorly in your state. Would you address them first? Which is like, why are we at the Republican debate asking a Republican candidate, are they going to address minorities first?
Right. Look,
I was like, what kind of question is this?
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Christie, of course, said, I'm going to address everyone, obviously. Right. Then he said that he's in favor of school choice. He brought the numbers of minorities doing better in schools up when he was governor. He said schools are run by the teachers' unions, not the parents. Big applause line for the teachers' union. And then he said, or for being against the teachers' union. And then he said, the president of the United States is right now in the Oval Office using blue chew gum to get a big boner and bang his evil teacher union wife. Right. How dare he? The teachers union is literally screwing Joe Biden right now. How can we destroy the teachers union when they have an agent on the inside?
Right.
And then everyone in the audience went, don't make us think of Joe Biden having sex. They all threw up on each other.
Biden is literally sleeping with the enemy.
Yes.
There was a little bit of that collective like, ooh.
Yeah.
Why would you put that image in our heads?
And then
Chris Crispy.
Then Krispy Kreme pulled out a little package of Blue Chew. He said, my statement's brought to you by Blue Chew. And then an advert for Blue Chew came by and gave him like a $20 bill and he put it in his pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they said, okay, now it's DeSantis. They had the graph for DeSantis
now
again.
It's another punch in the face for DeSantis.
Yes, and they said, Ron DeSanctimonious.
Right.
Your state.
Racist.
You big racist. Here on Fox News, we're going to say that your state said that slavery was based.
Yeah. What's up with this racist bill that you have in Florida?
What's up with you saying that slavery was actually good for black people?
Yeah. Ron, what are you doing? Robot Ron. What are you doing?
And then Ron was like,
Fox News ran tons of stories about how this was all fake
news. Yeah.
So why are they doing this in the look? This is a complete mystery to me.
Yes.
Look, when this came out and the mainstream liberal press was attacking Ron DeSantis with this line that, was from the bill or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Fox News was defending him. Why they throw this in the debate?
Because
why they basically accept the mainstream liberal press's narrative on this and say, look, Ron, why you do this?
Well, I do. So I guess I give Fox credit for this because they don't want to just be like, they don't want to get accused of just throwing a bunch of softballs to other candidates. Right. I think that's what's motivating them. So.
Yeah, but to basically, that narrative is completely a lie.
Yeah, maybe from their perspective, they think they think it is a softball because they think it's an easy thing to debunk or something.
Okay, maybe.
He
does immediately say like that was a hoax or whatever.
Right. I wouldn't even wait. To me, it's a waste of time to ask that question.
Right.
It's a stupid question. But I can understand the logic of it. But anyway, DeSantis says that it's a hoax. It was a hoax perpetuated by Kamala Harris.
Right.
And that the people that wrote that line themselves are descendants of slaves, and they were black historians and scholars, and that Florida is ranked number 1 in education, which I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said, according to some people, or some poll or something, and that we have universal school choice in Florida, which I, again, don't know if that's true, but okay. I mean, that's pretty cool if that is true. And that we enacted parental rights in education and the CRT ban, and we stand with the parents.
Right.
Which, I thought was a good answer. They definitely seem to have a lot of support. I can see why he's really setting himself up to be the number 2 choice, assuming, the spare in case the heir Donald Trump, gets thrown in jail or whatever.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they did ask him that so he could say it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
then Tim Scott responded saying that there was no redeeming quality to slavery.
It's very good that we know that. I'm so glad that he
I was
did
like,
that.
thank you, Tim. Thank you. And then he said that both Ron and Kamala should have just taken the one sentence out. I don't know what he meant by Kamala take the sentence out, but okay. And that black families survived slavery and Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was weird. Well, not what he said was weird, but the fact that this got big applause was weird. He said what was hardest for black families to survive was Johnson's Great Society. And that got big applause. And I'm like, bunch of nerds in the audience. Who even knows what that means? I was like, I know what it means, but I don't think people in the audience would know what that means.
These are Republicans. They know what it means.
And then he said where they decided to take the fathers out of the homes. That's where it destroyed the American family. America's not a racist country. We are the greatest country. And I was like, okay. I thought the answer started really weak, but then it came out strong, obviously, in terms of hitting those right-wing intuitions. So
right, yeah.
And then the next question was interesting because the next question was Dana Perino says students can change their identity without notifying their parents, meaning their gender identity. Would you support, Vivek, a federal law that says that all schools have to tell the parents if their child is going to change their gender?
Right. 10.7 million kids right now can change their gender without their parents knowing about it.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that's interesting about this question, that Dana Perino kept interrupting, like Vivek was actually, in my opinion, answering the question, or very clearly you would understand where he was on it. And she kept interrupting him to say, you're not answering the question. And I was like, I'm like, do they really have it out for Vivek? Like, what am I looking at here? It was a very strange interaction to me.
Okay.
Because Vivek says transgenderism in kids is a mental health issue, which is funny because the people in the audience took that to be like a dig at transgenderism, but I'm not sure if it actually is supposed to be or not, or if it's supposed to be fake. Because I mean, it is like it is literally a mental health issue. Like,
Okay.
so I was like, okay, I didn't know how. I don't. It's interesting. But then he said parents have a right to know. But then here's where he says kind of like the quote anti-trans thing, where he says it's not compassionate to affirm a kid's confusion. Okay, and then he talks about certain people, certain young girls that he interacted with who or met on the campaign trail, I should say, because it sounds less disgusting the way I said it. And he talks about how they, had surgeries or transitioned and then regretted it, and he called the practice barbaric. And he seemed like he was about to say that he was going to have push for a federal ban on all transitions for children, both chemical and surgical. But then Dana interrupts him to specifically say, you didn't answer my question. Do you support a federal law forcing schools to notify parents? And I'm like, Dana, if he's in favor of a ban of children being in a transition period,
it's no longer an issue.
Yeah, like, are you like what do you think? I don't know.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
And then
I'm in favor of banning all of this, but I don't want the parents to find out about it.
Yeah, I was like, why would you? I was like, oh, okay. But then Vivek obviously says yes, he's in favor of the ban.
Right.
And then this is interesting. So then they go to Booger, because this is so
this
far
is one of the most bizarre answers of the night.
Well, no, so this is very calculated because Booger of North Dakota has answered every question so far as everything's the federal government's fault. We need to reduce federal government power.
Right.
So then they ask him very slyly, they're like, okay, but are you in favor of increasing federal government power to prevent state schools or states from allowing schools to not notify the parents if their child is transitioning or wants to transition?
Right.
And so he said, this is a state's issue.
Yeah, states' rights.
Right. I was like, oh, I guess he's against the federal ban. He doesn't say it, but this is the implication. He says, we're not talking about North Dakota because we're good. I was like, what? And then he went, I'm a business leader. I'm a businessman. I treat people like customers. I have created more jobs as a business leader than anyone here on the stage. And he totally dodges the question about whether the federal government should force states to notify parents. So I'm assuming he would not.
Well, he says he's not. He says it should be left up to the states. So
well, he just said it's a state's issue. So I guess that's clearly him saying he wouldn't. But
right.
Okay. And then they asked Pence.
Right.
They asked Pence
a question about LGBT hate crimes.
They're like, Pence, pray the gay away, Pence.
Are you with me? Are you with me that you're like, what is going on here? Is this bizarre? Like, what is happening here?
Yeah. No, it was very interesting.
Why did Pence get that question?
I told you they were not pulling.
I swear, like he's against gay, isn't he? I would think Pence is against gay marriage.
Well, okay, here's the thought process. What if this is all, I mean, this is why you said you felt like they were paid off by Donald Trump.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Though I thought that Fox News is pretty not super in favor of Trump. I mean, at least that's like the rumor. That's the speculation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know Murdoch. I think Murdoch is in favor of Trump. But anyway, so they asked Mike Pence about the increase in violence against LGBT people.
Right.
And, he gives a decent answer on that. He says he will stand up for the safety and security of all people in America.
Right.
Okay. But then he makes a really gross old man joke.
Right. Yeah.
That he says. So it was bad enough that Chris Christie put in everyone's mind the idea of Joe Biden having sex, right?
Right.
So now Mike Pence wants to put the image of him having sex in everyone's audience, in the minds of everyone in the audience. And he says, my wife is not a member of the teachers union, but I have been sleeping with a teacher for 30 years. I was like, oh no, I don't want it. Nobody wants to think about that, Pence. Stop it. Stop. No one wants to think of the old man, the old man dick. Okay, stop it.
They're just sleeping
Gross.
together, okay?
Well, that's true. They're good Christians, so they have separate beds, and they're wearing. He's like wearing like a full like sleep pajama outfit with a little hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the little satin sheets, and they're sleeping in the separate beds, and they're like they have the individual lamps, like I Love Lucy. They're
Right.
reading books. They go, good night, love. Yeah. So maybe he didn't mean it that way. But he
So
did say
go ahead.
well, he did say though, he did end it though by saying that he did also support a federal ban on the transitioning of children.
Right. Yes. Which the trans community will perceive as a hate crime against them, which is just like the ultimate irony here.
Right.
Look, the LGBT community is being, all these hate crimes are being committed against them. Oh, well, I would help with another hate crime.
Right.
So, okay. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Look, I'm in favor of, I don't think kids can consent to these hormone blockers or surgeries or stuff like that. So I'm sympathetic to that. I just don't know if Pence is the right vehicle for that message. I kind of feel like it's.
Well, anything he says is going to be perceived as the most anti-LGBT thing ever, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe it's better because he's just completely out of the race anyway. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because Trump kind of waffled on the can a man become a woman question.
He did, yeah, which is strange.
So I don't know if he would support. I mean, it'd be interesting if they ask him, would he support a federal ban on children transitioning? I actually don't even know what the legality. Could the federal government pass a law like that? Is that within the legal purview of the federal government to even do that? And I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it is if they don't have any scientific evidence that there's positives to doing it, which I don't know that they do have any scientific evidence.
Well, no, that's not what that would be. I'm saying, like, does the federal government have the authority to federally ban a medical procedure as opposed to a state having to be state by state?
The thing to do would be to look at how the lobotomy stuff played out, because I'm sure there were laws around that.
Can the federal government ban a medical procedure? I mean, maybe they could by saying, like, having the was the FDA or something say that
they're banning abortion, which is a medical procedure. I don't look.
Yeah, I get. Well, they was true. Maybe they'd have the FDA or some federal agency say declare that the medical procedure is not safe or something. So yeah, I guess they probably could do
it. So I didn't get the next question. Maybe you have better notes on it than me. DeSantis, something about attacking China is attacking Google.
The question was, does going after Google and Meta give China an edge because China's like heavily invested in producing more tech stuff?
Right.
And
so we need to basically back off on our tech companies.
Right. And DeSantis's question or answer was no, because Google and Meta have cracked down on free speech and their monopolies. We've subtracted too many, and then he moved to saying we subtracted too many of our important industries in China. Or no, sorry, subcontracted too many of our important industries to China. We need to decouple from China. We will beat them on the economy. I was like, I mean, he gives like these kind of like vague answers for most of the things, but I'm like, okay, good, fair enough, I guess.
You're voting for DeSantis, right?
I mean, in the primary?
Yeah. Do you have open primaries in Florida?
Know. Yeah, I have no clue, actually.
Look, it may be over by the time it gets to California. A lot of times it already is, so.
I don't know where Florida is.
I may not vote at all.
So.
What's that?
I don't know where Florida is in the primary vote.
You guys vote before us.
Vote before California.
We vote on Super Tuesday when it's.
I mean, I would vote. I definitely vote for him over Trump in the primary.
Yeah, you should change your registration.
If it just wasn't for the Disney stuff, which drives me crazy, I would feel so much more comfortable voting for DeSantis.
Look, he's mad because they got that Pinocchio guy worming in on his being a real boy shtick.
There you go.
They don't like he doesn't like the Disney competition. I'm the real boy here.
Then there was a question to Christie. Was there anything important? This is about tech innovation. Do you care about? Skip that. About AI.
What? Wait a second here. You're going to
Okay.
skip 22% of people are worried about their job being gone to automation.
Yes.
And Chris Christie says, "Oh, we can do retraining programs, and we need more deregulation."
Yeah.
Eat a Krispy Kreme, Christie.
Yeah.
You're like completely out of it.
Yeah. He said, "Get the government off the back of innovators. We'll just retrain everyone."
Yeah, look.
Like, okay, I guess. I don't know.
You got a super AI that basically can be anybody's attorney for a tenth of the price, and we're going to retrain all those attorneys, I guess, to be like mall security guards.
Mm-hmm.
Look.
Right.
Yeah. They're out to lunch on it. But so TikTok is next.
Oh, okay. So now the moderators are like, okay. They look over and they see that Vivek has finally gotten up from his last beating.
Right.
He's like, he sees like his little ring guy is like, cut his eyebrow so he can see. He's like wiping the blood off his face. He's like, now that you're standing, Vivek.
Right.
Now that you've just been beaten to a pulp by other people and you're standing again, let's shiv you again with another knife here. And they say, Vivek, TikTok is banned on all government devices. Okay.
Right.
However, you joined TikTok after talking to none other than Jake Paul. Should the question literally, and I'll make this up, the question was, should the commander-in-chief be so easily persuaded by an influencer?
Wow. Look at this.
And I was like, oh my God. So then
you're sucking up to Jake. They even know who Jake Paul is.
Yes. Let's go full Pauler.
Right.
So then Vivek had an answer.
Right.
I don't know if you thought it was a good answer or not, but his answer was, I have a radical idea for Republicans. We need to win.
Right.
To win, we need to reach the next generations of voters and where they are, which is on TikTok.
All those voters that you want to disenfranchise, you got to talk to them.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, fair enough, maybe. He's taking the pragmatic approach. But then he immediately says, kids under the age of 16 should not be allowed to use social media.
Right. They're going to love that message.
And I was like, wait a minute. You can't say that you're the only and he literally says, I'm the only candidate trying to reach the kids. I'm like, wait a minute. You can't say you're the only candidate trying to reach kids and you need to be on TikTok to reach the kids. But then that's why you want to ban the kids from using TikTok.
Yeah.
I was like, what? That is the most garbled message ever. I mean, I know 16-year-olds can't vote, but I would wager that most 18-year-olds are not going to be in favor of banning 16-year-olds from using social media. I would guess. If I was 18, I would be like, no, that's some old man BS,
Right. But so he said he'd get rid of TikTok once he got elected. The moderator
he's reneged on that, though. Now he's saying he just wants to ban 16-year-olds from using it.
Really? No, I think at the end they press him and he says, look, I'll ban it when I get elected president.
Okay, maybe I missed that. I don't know.
And then Haley comes in and says,
well, hold on.
Oh,
before we get to Haley, because he gave a really awful answer. Vivek did so poorly tonight. So after he gave that horrible, like, muddled answer, he then said he like listened to all the data from the last debate, and he grabbed the camera and he pulled it toward him and he said, "Listen, I know you out there. You see me as a young man who's in a bit of a hurry." He started crying, by the way, and weeping. "Maybe I'm a little too ambitious. Maybe I come off as a bit of a know-it-all." I'm not making this up. He literally said, maybe I come off as a bit of a know-it-all. Maybe I come off as a bit of a know-it-all sometimes. But I'm here to tell you, I don't know it all. I will listen. And then he put on a Trump mask and said, I will have the best people, the best and brightest people advise me. Maybe even some of the people on this stage included can help me make America great. That's how I build my companies. And everyone on the stage started roaring in rage, started interrupting each other, saying, we're not going to fucking help you build shit, Vivek. We hate your guts. I started pulling up the podiums by the nails and throwing them at Vivek. Vivek was dodging the podiums and the electric wires everywhere, and they all started ripping their clothes off in anger and pounding their chest.
Even Nikki Haley.
Her tits were everywhere. And then I forget the guy's name. He was like, "Listen, Nikki, put your shirt back on, okay, please. This is a family show. We'll let you answer the question, okay? Why are you
Right.
so mad at Vivek right now?" And Nikki Haley said, "TikTok is one of the most dangerous apps we have in America." And then she had the zinger of the night.
This is the zinger of the night right here.
She looked at Vivek and she said, "Every time I hear you talk, I feel a little dumber for what you say."
Vivek is literally making people dumber as he speaks.
I was like, "Oh man, okay, okay."
Yeah. No, this is good. Like
Yeah, it was good.
everyone's joining in here.
Yep.
She delivers the "we can't trust you.
Yes.
You took money from Hunter Biden."
Yeah, she says, "You help China build medicines. You are in business with China. We can't trust you."
Yeah.
Bum bum bum. Though I could hear the voice of Scott Adams from. I can hear him tomorrow. He's going to be complaining about this.
He's like a big Vivek fan, isn't he?
Well, no, well, not necessarily that, but he always gets. He does think TikTok should be 100% banned. So he's probably anti-Vivek if Vivek's like waffle on that. But he always gets so mad whenever someone complains about TikTok, and all they do is they complain about the data security, which is all she talked about, and none of them talk about the persuasion power,
the psychological
power of the algorithms of what TikTok is promoting. Are they promoting things that are trying to destroy America and to make all the kids woke and trans and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Of course they are. Yeah. She says we need to ban TikTok, which I'm in favor of. So
I'm on board. Listen, I'm an old man. I don't
hopefully
care about
DeSantis,
TikTok. I don't use TikTok. Let's ban it.
Hopefully
doesn't get on my nose.
Look, TikTok is a competitor to us. So
is it?
Look, yeah, I don't want to get on TikTok. Look, we are YouTubers. Fuck TikTok.
I don't know if it's. I mean, I don't know if it's competitive for us because we, as everyone listening knows, we're generally known for long form content.
Yeah, but I'm just look.
TikTok. So
any content platform is a competitor against us. So
okay, fair enough.
I would not be against TikTok if they weren't controlled by the CCP.
Right.
And we know enough about psychology to know that's just a dangerous tool to have in the Chinese Communist Party's hands.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Vivek responds to this by saying, Vivek's like bleeding because he's been hit by all the podiums and everyone's just slapping him in the face.
It's like pandemonium. They just accused him of shaking hands with photos of him shaking hands with Hunter Biden on the Hunter Biden laptop. He
was there holding Hunter Biden's penis as he was going into a prostitute's mouth. Okay. Just picture this. It exists. Yes. Just trust me.
Hunter Biden's willy in one hand, Hunter Biden's crack pipe in the other hand.
There you go. Okay, so Vivek's like all bloody because he's like got all these accusations thrown at him, and then he says, "Listen, I think we would be better served as a Republican Party if we were not hurling personal insults at each other, instead debating policy."
Right. He said, "Where?" He said, "Where?"
Stop being mean to me.
He said, "I know I said you were all bought and paid for last time, but when? Please, no more personal insults."
But now I'm trying to be your friends because people didn't like when I insulted you. So stop insulting me. And when he said this, everyone on stage blew up again. Oh, so hilarious. Everyone started losing their mind. Everyone starts interrupting each other. You can't hear anything. Everyone's just yelling at each other.
I know, it was great.
And this was actually the funniest moment on stage, of the night. Okay. As everyone, so Vivek comes out and he's like trying to take the high ground. He's like, we shouldn't be personally insulting each other. We should be talking about the policies. Everyone's just freaking out, yelling at Vivek, talking about how much they hate his guts. And as they're all yelling at Vivek, telling him how much they hate him, he says, "These are all good people on the stage who we just have disagreements with." I was like, okay, I guess. As they're all talking about how much they hate his guts, he's like, "No, they're all good people." And I'm watching this and I'm like, I don't think it's going to come off well. I think it's going to come off really weak. To me, it came off as weak and pathetic and spineless. Like, and I know it's not like what he's going for. He's going for, he got so much blowback for being so aggressive last time. So he's trying to do like a hunt, like a complete 180 that direction, but just seems it seems so transparent to me. I'm not sure how I don't think people will take it positively,
Right.
but we'll see.
So
Then Berg,
he gets beat up a little bit.
he
Look,
gets
he
beat
didn't
up.
really have any. He didn't have any moments tonight. I'll be curious to see
No,
the polling tomorrow because I mean he went into this in second place.
he had no, he had no good moments in this. He either had neutral or bad moments in this.
Right.
Yeah, Vivek fared very poorly in this conversation, in this debate. Very, very
It's
poorly.
weird that I mean he evidently did good enough in the first debate to rocket him up to second place, and now he's gonna pretend he's not gonna do any of the things that rocketed him up to second place. I mean that's not really a good strategy.
Yeah, because that's what's weird. I think there's always this happened with in the previous debates. There's a disconnect, in my opinion. There's a disconnect about what people perceive as doing good in debates and what they perceive as doing bad in debates. Because in my opinion, Vivek, the first half of the debate, the first debate, Vivek did very, very well. And he
Mm-hmm.
did very well because he was like had his finger on the pulse of like the Trump populism, and he was kind of like crapping on everyone else and attacking them. And he was kind of trying to do it Trumpian. And a lot of people didn't like. They said they didn't like that because they're like, well, and I understand why. Like Vivek came off as like egotistical. He's too young. When Trump does it, he has a kind of a different energy about him that Vivek couldn't really emulate correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Vivek has kind of like this young, egotistical tech bro attitude, where Trump has kind of like an old, dismissive businessman attitude. So like it feels more earned, even if it's not from Trump's perspective. For people watching Trump, just because Trump has like this aged businessman look to him that Vivek doesn't have. But I think Vivek only like started to like falter in the first debate, in the second half of it, when he was like getting beat up on the foreign policy, basically saying stupid crap that was allowing all the other people to beat up on him. But I think he basically just took all the like his strengths of in the first debate, which was him being aggressive and him being very populist, and he just tried to be this. I'm going to hug it all out with everyone, and it's just what allows everyone to just beat the crap out of him. And I don't know. I know it's not going to work, and I think you're 100% right. He's going to lose. I think he's going to lose a lot of the momentum that he was able to build up in the first debate.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
I'm looking forward to seeing those polls.
it's kind of like with and this happened a lot with Hillary. If you remember in Hillary's debate with Trump, in the first debate with Trump, I think Hillary did reasonably well against Trump, but people were like, she was too aggressive. She was too aggressive. And I'm like, well, no, you have to be aggressive against Trump. And then so the second, third debate, she was too passive. And Trump
Right.
just walked all over her in the second debate. And then the third debate, she
Because
never,
you'd be in jail. I still remember. It's like years
yes,
ago.
right. Yeah, the second debate was the one where, remember Trump was standing behind her and it was like, oh my God, he's standing so close to her. He's trying to intimidate her, right? Like, it's,
Everyone thought that was weird, but I think a lot of people were like, "Yeah, you should have bit her."
I thought that looked funny and awkward. People were like, so like, it's so disrespectful. I'm like, okay, whatever. But, in the second debate, she was way too passive. In the third debate, she never recovered. Because she was just so afraid of like, oh, I can't be too aggressive. I'm like, what? You're running against Donald Trump. Of course you have to be aggressive. He's like one of the most aggressive candidates there. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I feel like all the things that made people like him. I don't think his supporters are going to be happy after this performance. Which I mean, I'm not a Vivek fan, so
right. I mean, he definitely did poor. He definitely did very poor in this conversation.
right,
So we'll see. And uh, then Burgum, very funnily, he tries to interrupt again, and he
right.
says, "There's only one person on this stage who knows the real issue here. Everyone's missing it but me." And Dana Perino says, "Sir, if you don't shut up, we're gonna
I'm
cut your
gonna cut
mic."
your mic. I know.
And then he shut it up, and I was like, "Oh, that looks so bad."
She's like, look, I really don't want to have to cut your mic. Can you just be cool and shut up?
I was like, "Ooh, okay, he's done. He needs to leave. He's just a waste of time and energy and everything."
I mean, everyone was being kind of pieces of shit, and they had weird. Sometimes they let him get away with it, and sometimes they didn't. It was just, I don't know. It's
No, but
very
I'm saying
hard.
like Burgum is such a waste of time. He's no shot of winning. He's lame.
No,
Like,
I
just get him out of
agree.
there.
I agree. Look, I don't know why they have to. Thank God they didn't have 8.
Yeah, they got rid of that other guy from the first one. His name I don't
Yeah.
even remember. Okay, the next question was spending
Ukraine.
on Ukraine.
Right.
And I noticed that DeSantis has he has a really weird look when people ask him these questions at the debate. He looked like he was just seething, and I couldn't tell why. Did you get that impression? He just looked angry all the time. I'm like, why does he look so angry?
He looks. I know what you're talking about. It's like an odd kind of just, oh, here it is. This is the opportunity for me. I hope I don't fuck it up.
Well, no, like to me, it's like, okay, so he's got like his head tilted down
Mm-hmm.
slightly with his eyes looking forward, which is like the angry stance. And then he kept clenching his teeth and like grinding them. Like it was like a cartoon, like like you draw literally drawing a cartoon character like ready to like pop off on someone. And I'm like, why is he doing this? And he was doing it a lot. And I was like, does he not realize what he's doing? It just made him look kind of like crazy.
I always feel like he has a look on his face like, I'm looking human. I am human. Have you seen those? They have been clipping out his weird looks after he responds to questions and stuff like that.
No, I haven't seen that.
I mean, it just looks like, look, I'm human. Fall for it.
I am human.
Like,
look at me. I am human.
He's he's completely inauthentic, but
Yes. That's funny.
I don't.
Okay. Well,
I'm
listen.
over it now. It's like, okay, look, he's a robot. I get it.
maybe these two things we're talking about combine because, as I said in the first debate, he's trying to use anger to replace his lack of personality.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what's going on.
And so maybe they're like, listen, you should look pissed off all the time, okay? Because at least that's something. That's an emotion for people to grab onto. Okay.
Right. So
yeah, ask me about Ukraine.
Kellyanne Conway made an interesting point before the debate began.
Mm-hmm.
She said politics is really about, do I like you and are you like me? And I feel like the look on Ron DeSantis's face is always trying to answer the "Are you like me?" question. Like he's like, no, look, I'm like you. Look, I'm human like you. I feel like he's just lost in the sauce. He's just trying to. He doesn't really know what to do. I mean, it's a little weird.
I think I understand why they say like. I think the "Do I like you" is true. I think that's the number one thing.
Of course, yeah.
I think people are a little bit off when they say, "Are you like me?" That's
like
not what's going on.
It's a relatability question.
It's not even about relatability. People don't care about relatability. They care about trust.
Yes, but relatability is the path to trust.
Right. Now, very often relatability and trust go hand in hand. But the real issue is trust. Because look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump is highly unrelatable to many people.
I completely disagree. I think one of the things that Donald Trump wins on is being completely relatable.
No, so in terms of what his life is, he's completely unrelatable. He's a billionaire New York real estate tycoon. But the way that he presents and talks seems like he's just like a normal person.
He like buys fast food and stuff, though. I mean, that's completely relatable.
Okay.
Because he's a billionaire doesn't mean he's not relatable.
I mean, it kind of does.
Donald Trump knows how things work. He's just I feel like Donald Trump is very, very relatable. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think so, but I don't think relatability is the issue. I think it's trust primarily, and I think relatability has something to do with trust, but I think you can garner trust without being like I think too often politicians focus on like, I need to be relatable to the average person. It's like, no, you have to be trustworthy to them. That's like the main goal.
So many people, they would trust Donald Trump with their lives. It's so black and white.
I agree.
And like so many of the Democrats they feel like he's Adolf Hitler. It's like night and day.
Right.
It's like they wouldn't trust him with anything.
Yeah.
So it is very weird. It's that two movies thing. People are watching two completely different movies. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, DeSantis then answers the question about spending money in Ukraine. He says, no blank check, no U.S. troops, make Europe pay more. Our own country is being invaded. We need to protect American people before we worry about other countries. I will defend America.
The interesting thing about this question is really the framing again. So they say, should we degrade the Russian military for 5% of the military budget? And it's almost pitched as, it's like it's such a small amount of money to do all this good in the world.
Right.
Like they're almost answering the question for them as they're asking.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. It's definitely a question that has the answer embedded within the question. Yeah. Yes.
So,
well, then Scott had an interesting response to this, which was the first interesting thing Scott has ever said in any of these debates.
Right.
She said I don't know if this is true, but he said that 90% of the money that we send to Ukraine is a loan.
Yeah.
Not actually foreign aid directly, but is a loan that will be paid back. And then I think Santis or Vivek said they're not going to pay it back. And he said it's a loan that will be paid back not by Ukraine, but by NATO countries, by the other NATO countries.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know that.
Because that's true. Yeah, if that's true, that definitely hampers a lot of the talking points about we're sending too much money to Ukraine. If that's true, I don't know if it is.
I thought the exact same thing. I thought this is something that Sitch should fact check.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
oh, that's really? I was like, wait, really? I've never heard him. I was like, why is Scott saying this? Why are the Democrats not saying this? Like in response to defending
why aren't they screaming it from the rooftops?
Yeah.
Look, it's a loan. It's a loan, and the NATO companies are on the hook to pay it back.
Right. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Look, you're not going to. Ukraine might not be there to pay it back. Of course, you get the NATO countries.
Yeah, because when he said it was a loan, I'm like, yeah, but what if Ukraine doesn't pay it back because they don't exist? And then he said it was a NATO country. I was like, oh, okay.
So,
and then he made the whole argument about how like it's good. He said it's good that we're degrading Russia's military.
Right.
That's letting us keep our troops at home and preventing an Article 5 violation less likely. So then, which Vivek interrupts.
Yeah,
Scott.
Ramaswamy has to mess up the entire party. Everyone's getting along now.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. Vivek interrupts and he says, just because Putin is evil doesn't mean Ukraine is good. Ukraine has banned 11 opposition parties. And as he's saying this, Nikki Haley starts doing a mantra.
Right.
She starts doing a prayer where she keeps saying, a win for Russia is a win for China. A win for Russia is a win for China. She said it like 10 times while Vivek is talking. And then she says... Wait, okay, I must have mistyped here. He says China is the real enemy. We need a real peace plan. And Nikki Haley says, you just like China, shut up. And then Pence interrupts them and says that if you let Putin have Ukraine, it's a green light to let China take Taiwan.
Right. He like yells that out across the room.
Yes.
Everyone's immediately in STFU Ramaswamy mode.
Yeah. It's so funny how they all just hate his guts so much.
Well, I mean, I hate his position on Ukraine as well. It's just, I mean, it's not very bright.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they all like personally seem to hate him completely.
Yeah, look, they called them. He said they were all corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, I got you. I get it.
They should have rolled their eyes and been like, "Oh, you call everyone corrupt." When he starts calling Ukraine corrupt,
yes, there you go.
They could be like, "That's what you said about us."
Yes, nice. They love us.
Shit.
How do we know next week you're not going to be like hugging Zelensky? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Vivek is really, I think, harming himself that he doesn't seem to have integrity because he's flip flopping too much.
Right. So Chris Christie
was to Christie saying Biden has brought Russia and China and Iran together. Are we focused too much on Ukraine instead of that? And Christie said, it's all connected. It's all connected. And he pointed to the corkscrew board behind him. He said, China is paying for the war and Iran is providing weapons to Russia. People wanted to go talk to Putin. I thought this was a good answer, though.
I thought this was one of the best answers.
I thought this was a very good answer. He said, people wanted to go talk to Putin. That's what Bush, Obama, Trump, and even Biden did. They all went to go talk with Putin. And you know what they got for it? Nothing.
Right.
Every one of them was wrong. Is what he said.
Yep.
Every one of them is wrong. We need to say right now we will fight the Russia-China alliance. We will not solve it by cuddling up to Putin. Trump says Putin is a brilliant leader. Putin is killing thousands of people in Ukraine. If we give him Ukraine, he'll go after Poland. He said the darkest day in history is when the Soviet Union fell, and he wants to put the band back together.
Yeah, that was a great line.
So I was like, oh, that's a good answer.
He's trying to get the band back together, and we have to stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the presidents were wrong was a great line, because I'm like, yeah, they were, basically.
Right. Yeah, that was the line that stuck out to me that was really good, was that line. It was him saying Bush, Obama, Trump all went to go talk. They all talked to Biden, and they were all wrong.
No,
And,
talk to Putin.
I'm sorry. Talk to Putin. Yes.
Yep.
Talk to Putin, and they were all wrong, and it didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because Putin is going to tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
And then they said, "Listen, Mr. Burgum, we'll finally ask you a question."
Right, and Burgum said, "Blah blah."
Yeah, it was a question. I didn't even understand what the context was. No one cares. The answer was, "It's the federal government's fault. Who cares?"
Right, but then comes the pointed question to Haley. This is where they ask her, "Are you a scoundrel?"
Yeah, that was the military intervention in Mexico. Are you the scoundrel? Yes.
Right. So I guess Mexico was upset with the last debate that everyone was saying, yeah, we'll just, let's just send our troops into Mexico and take care of the problem for them.
Yeah, take them out.
So they didn't like that. The president of Mexico called them all scoundrels.
No.
And Nikki Haley basically said, hell yeah, I'm a scoundrel. We'll use the special forces to go after Mexico, and we'll go after China too. This answer is so crazy. Is that even?
Well, she gave a crazy answer in terms of like whether it's realistic, but I think it was a good answer in terms of rhetoric, because she said Mexico's not being a good partner with America, considering how many Americans died from fentanyl last year. So we need to send in the special forces to stop that by taking out the cartels. I was like, okay, I don't know if that's like feasible, but it's good rhetoric. Then she said, we're going to stop. Now, this was even crazier, actually, than sending them to Mexico. She said, we're going after China since they're sending fentanyl. We will end all trade relations with China until they stop sending fentanyl. And I was like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you can't really do that. I mean, I think there is a decoupling going on, so. Yeah, we're moving in that direction.
Sure, but she's making it sound like day one she gets to be president. She's like, boom, we're embargoing.
No more China.
No trade with China is allowed, period. Like, that's not realistic.
All right, terrorism.
That question was really boring. I don't know. Do you want to talk about it? Or?
Oh, we can just skip it. Yeah.
Okay. They really had a boring question about that. Let's see.
Gas prices.
Okay, we talked about the gas prices. They talked about how gas is $6 a gallon in California.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
It sucks.
Last time I got gas here, it was like $3.40, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, why is it $6 in California?
So Ramaswamy's answer on the gas prices question is just super retarded.
Oh, okay. So the question was the $6 a gallon in California, so almost $100 a barrel. But this I thought was actually a good question, because they said, how would you bring the price of gas down without just drilling more oil?
Right.
Because that's the answer to everything. Just
they basically took baby drill off the table and said, just look, don't lie to us. How are you going to do it?
Right, because apparently there's some court order that's preventing drilling in certain areas or something.
So Ramaswamy's answer is, we're going to put people back to work by firing 75% of government employees. Like, what the hell? And then he pulls out the we're paying people more to stay at home than to actually go to work. And I'm like, dude, COVID is over. What are you talking about? Are they still doing COVID stimuluses that I'm unaware of?
Yeah,
I don't know anyone that's getting COVID money now. What the hell is he even talking
it
about?
was a really awful answer. Because first of all, it doesn't address. So he's asked very specifically, "How are you going to get the price of oil down?"
Yeah, what does this have to do with gas?
And he says, "I'm going to get people back to work." And you're like, well, "What does that mean? What does that have to do with getting the price of oil back down?" Like,
Yeah,
I don't even understand what that means.
none of that
And,
answer made any sense at
and
all.
even theoretically, like if it was true that there's a bunch of people at home and they weren't working, if you made them go out and work, wouldn't that increase the ban on oil? Because more people would be driving around. Wouldn't that increase oil prices? Like I don't know what the fuck he was talking
That's a
about.
great look. That's a great point.
I was like, what?
I'm gonna get people back to work on the bus.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I guess. And then yeah, and then he said he's going to unlock the power of the economy by reducing all federal employment by 75%. I was like, okay, Jesus.
That's not gonna unlock the power of anything.
I was gonna unlock the power of people being on welfare, I guess.
I know.
I was like, what? All right, it's okay. And then he said the Federal Reserve needs to be put back in its place because it's gone rogue. Though he didn't explain what he meant by that, but all right.
Probably because interest rates are so high.
I guess. I mean, he didn't
Look,
say
I'm no.
that, but he just said it's gone rogue. And then Pence responded to this question, and he gave kind of the boring answer where he said, "We've achieved energy independence under my vice presidency. Biden declared war on energy. I have a plan to produce more oil," which again, and this is kind of what we talked about whenever we bring this up, is about how none of this really addresses the issue because it like if America keeps producing more and more and more oil, that's increasing the supply. But remember, that's increasing the supply globally. So, like the amount of oil that America would have to produce to have like a massive effect on prices globally would have to be astronomical because you're competing with OPEC and all these other countries. Like, where is Donald Trump? Where is Vivek? Where's any of these guys that are going to say America drilled in oil oil drilled in America stays in America? That's the policy
Yeah,
I want to hear.
Trump is gonna say that policy.
We'll see. And then Nikki responded to that question with a very lame answer, in my opinion, where she said, "We need a president that understands we need to be partners with our oil companies and tell our oil companies that we have their backs because we love the oil companies so much. I love the oil companies. I want to give them big kisses."
Mm-hmm.
And then she turns around to Ron DeSantis says, "Ron DeSantis hates oil companies. Did you
Right.
know that? Did you know that Ron DeSantis wants to have a ban on fracking in federal land in Florida? Boo! He wants to stop you from polluting the Everglades with oil. Boo!" I was like, oh, all right, I guess.
Is that true? Because Ron DeSantis disputes that.
Yeah, so then they get in this argument. I actually don't know because again, we went right from the debate to this. I've
Right.
had no time to fact check any of this. So then they get this weird back and forth debate where he says, DeSantis says,
Fake
no, I didn't ban
news.
fracking. Florida voters passed a constitutional amendment to ban fracking. And then Nikki said, no, 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 you banned it before it was voted. And then DeSantis says, no, 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 no. We only banned it in like certain areas. And they argue about the truth of all this, which I don't know the
Right.
answer to. So
Well, and DeSantis says something about he went to Texas to like do an oil deal with Texas to
yeah, which
buy
I didn't know what the
American.
fuck he was talking about.
That seemed pretty cool to me. I'm like, okay, that's
Did he
awesome.
mean for like the state of Florida or something that he has
Yeah,
like an
to buy
independent?
oil.
Okay,
It was super unclear with a
a
lot of
lot of
back
interruptions.
talk.
Yeah, right.
So, but
So
that
it
was
says
my takeaway. If it was correct, I don't know.
So this is from last year. It says on Ron DeSantis' website when he ran for governor, he said he promised to urge Florida legislatures to ban fracking, which I mean I'm in favor of that in
What's
Florida.
wrong with fracking?
Well, because he says with Florida's geological makeup of limestone and shallow water sources, fracking presents a danger to our state that is not acceptable. So they're talking about
Okay.
offshore fracking because apparently, like the way the limestone works and the water works, I guess it would be more dangerous. So I guess I just thought it was funny that Nikki is like pushing this as like a bad thing, which I mean, obviously, I guess from a right wing perspective, they don't care about like potential oil problems. Um, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this article, this is from PolitiFact, which is left-wing bias, and they're basically saying Ron did do a bunch of stuff to ban fracking in Florida, so maybe she was right.
Cool.
Anyway, moving on. Then Burgum tries to interrupt again and gets shut down. LOL.
Again, I know.
Again. Then they asked DeSantis another question, even though he's just been talking for like 10 minutes. And they said, on student loan forgiveness, you said colleges should be on the hook. How does that lower the cost of colleges? And DeSantis gives kind of an interesting answer. He says, well, it would force colleges to offer degrees that will actually create employment. And you'll have to think ahead instead of offering a bunch of like BS gender studies degrees.
Which is completely untrue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do they care?
Well, no, he's saying if they lose out on the college students not paying their tuition instead of the government or whoever has the loan, right? Saying if the colleges have to eat that cost, then they will actually be forced to be motivated to get rid of all the BS degrees.
Is that? I mean,
that's what he said. I mean, I don't
no, he was saying Biden wants to do loan forgiveness.
Yeah.
And you're against loan forgiveness. How is the students paying back the federal government going to, I mean, the colleges already got their money.
No, that's why the question, okay, they didn't really specify what his plan was, but the question made it sound like he was advocating for some policy where if a student couldn't pay back their loans, that would come not out of the government's pocket, but come out of the college's pocket.
Okay, well, if he's proposing something like that,
right,
it was unclear.
Yeah, no, it was not clear, but that's what they were saying, that somehow the cost of it would be shifted to the colleges instead of the government.
Okay, well,
and that would help prevent them from offering BS degrees, which I don't know, maybe that's true. I mean, I'm not opposed to trying that. I don't know if that would be legal. I don't know how that would work. Like, I don't know if you could force the loan into the colleges, but it would be interesting. Oh, okay. Here's the part that I thought you were gonna like vomit in your mouth.
Yes.
So they said
balanced budget amendment.
Yeah. So they said, well, the question was very lame. And Grandy says, why should you be promoted to CEO of the nation instead of Nikki Haley, Tim Scott? They asked it that way. I didn't just make that up. That was the way they asked the question. And Tim Scott says, the country should pass a balanced budget amendment to constrain the government spending. And then he immediately says, we need to grow our economy to reduce the national debt.
Yeah, what a dumbass.
And then he said, we need to grow our economy to reduce the national debt. So you need to create 10 million jobs.
Right.
And I was like, well, wait a minute. How are you you're going to reduce the national debt and grow the economy by reducing government spending?
Yeah.
Where's the money going to come from that?
I mean, it's a imprecise metric, but there's a lot of truth to it. Mm-hmm. The debt is the money supply.
Yes,
so as the debt goes up, the money supply gets bigger, right? So as the economy grows, you have to grow the money supply or you get deflation. A lot of people, they think deflation is good because they're spending too much money on stuff, but a deflation spiral can cause a recession / depression.
Well, I mean, what he's saying, like the only way you could, well, first of all, growing the economy and reducing the debt are two different things that are often contradictory to each other, as you just said.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you want to reduce the debt, you would want to tax more money out of the economy to reduce the debt.
Yes.
But if you want to grow the economy, what does he like when he says that we need to grow the economy? What does that mean? If you just grow the economy with money that already exists in the system, are you growing the economy? Or are you just changing money around in whose hands it is, right? But you could do that. You could have policies that basically, I don't know, heavily penalize like very rich businesses from sitting on money or something. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to grow the economy that way. I don't know how much money is just sitting around in people's savings accounts. I'm assuming not that much.
Well, you want wealth creation. You want to create products and services.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess you could heavily penalize people saving money, but I don't think anyone's gonna be in favor of penalties. I mean, policies like that. So if his big thing is that he needs to grow the economy, well, that means you need the economy to increase in size, which means you need to increase the money supply, I guess.
Right. Which means debt go up.
Yeah, so I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then Nikki butts in and says she pulled the Brianna Wu. They literally pulled the Brianna Wu. He said, I appreciate you, Tim. Scott. But, but, Tim, you've been in the Senate for 12 years and you haven't done any of this crap. You've been talking about you're a fraud, you're a phony, you're a phony. And they start yelling at each other. And she just keeps saying, it's so funny because they start yelling at each other. And it's like one of these like online debates where you can't understand anyone because they're just yelling. And she just keeps saying, it's been 12 years, you haven't done crap. It's been 12 years, you haven't gotten crap. And then DeSantis busts in and says, listen, I'm the only one that's gotten to the big fights and delivered the big victories in Florida. We turned Florida into a Republican state.
Yep.
And then Vivek says, we have 0 states in the country that are based on a zero-based budget, meaning they start at 0. And then we see what is necessary. No government does this, but companies do. And then Burgum gets super triggered. He says, no one asked me. Oh my God, I'm doing all this stuff that you guys are talking about in my state of North Dakota. I'm doing all these things, but you're not asking me the questions. Everything you're talking about, I'm already doing it. Look how cool I am. We've done it all. And then they said, but listen, Burgum, it's been an entire century. It's been 100 years since a president has actually successfully shrinked the government. How will you do it? And he said, I'm going to do it because in my state, I'm a businessman.
Yes.
And then everyone fell asleep.
He cites that there's 10 million available jobs in the private sector, at least. So he's like,
okay.
When I fire all these government employees, at least there's jobs in the private sector for them to go to, which I did appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we go on to abortion. Right, which is a little comical. DeSantis, they asked DeSantis an abortion question, basically saying, look, America, a lot of pro-choice people out there, okay? Abortion could not be so good for the Republican Party. And DeSantis says, look, I disagree. I think these pro-choice people are imaginary. He does say that you have to stop
to be clear,
the Dems with late-term abortions, but...
Yeah, he said he rejected the idea that the pro-life things what led to the midterm defeat.
Right, which I fundamentally disagree with him on that.
Yeah,
I think, look, his answer really seemed like, oh, these pro-choice polls are just, they're not real, which I guess you're going to find out in the next election, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. Then he pivoted to the Democrats should be held accountable for, abortions up to the moment of birth, which is a good pivot rhetorically after the blunder. But he also did do the whole I want Donald Trump here on this stage explaining his comments, because Donald Trump made the comments about the midterms too. And he's like, I want him here on stage to look into the eyes of all the people fighting for the rights of these little babies to live. I want him to look at them in the eyes and say, fuck you.
Donald Trump's position on abortion is going to make him president again. Donald Trump's position on abortion is way better than any of these clowns. You disagree?
No, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Probably. Okay, so what did Christie say after that? He had the same question.
Christie, the abortion people are just... He says that the pro-choice people can be won over just if we talk better. If Chris Christie comes out and explains to them that life begins at conception, they're gonna change their opinion. He knows the words that's gonna convince everybody, all the pro-choice people, to become pro-life people. Which kind of strikes me as delusional, Sitch. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anyone's moving on abortion. So he seemed delusional to me in this one.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think it's yeah, I don't think you're going to convince many people on that.
I
He
mean, it
did.
might work in the primary.
He had an interesting because he kind of took the left wing position, not only in saying that you can just talk people into out of their positions,
Right. Yeah.
the right magic spell words, but he also took on the left wing position, which is that if you're going to be pro life, you need to be pro life for the all of the life of a person. And he kind of tied it into giving treatments for young people in rehab centers who are rehabbing from fentanyl and other drug abuse situations. Um, but his big claim to fame was he was saying, "Listen, I was the only governor here of a blue state. They tried to pass Planned Parenthood funding 14 times, and I vetoed it every time. So I know how to like be president, be Republican, and still deal with like abortion issues." That's basically what he was saying.
Right. I think most of America is at the like 15 to 20 week a ban after 15 to 20 weeks. I think the marker is kind of consciousness. Your marker, Sitch?
Listen, I'm fucking big brain.
I
Well,
think
actually, I think the consciousness is like much later than that, but not much later, but it's later than that. But
I think Trump has said he's willing to wheel and deal on this.
right.
And I think that's going to make him seem, despite being Trump, more reasonable to a lot of people.
Yeah,
And it may make him actually president again.
we'll see.
Yeah.
So then they asked, "How will you reach out to the Latin voters?"
Right.
And they asked us the question in Spanish.
This is good. I guess we're talking about the question to Pence, right?
Yes.
73% of Latino voters think Republicans hate their guts. How are you going to fix this?
Yeah.
Pence?
The whitest person on stage.
To which Pence responds, well, I'll be cool to them. Like, he doesn't really respond. He doesn't really have a good response for that.
No, he says, "Listen, we're gonna be chill."
Yeah.
You don't think that's a good answer?
Not
I'm gonna be
really.
chill with my homies.
Not really.
No, okay. No, he said, listen, he said, we're gonna build bridges with the community. And then he said, "I'm proud of the largest tax cut in American history and the lowest unemployment for minorities in 50 years under my tenure as vice president. I will be the champion of all Americans. So help me God." He did say "so help me God" at the end of what he said.
Okay.
I just make that up. So.
Good for him.
So then now is here where things get interesting.
Right.
Okay. So Tim Scott.
It's Quentin's for you.
Yeah. Tim Scott weighs in and he says the best way is to lead by example. It's the best way to get the job done. I have the only female chief of staff in the Senate who is Latina, supposedly.
Uh-huh.
But this is what's funny. He says, so the question is, how are you going to reach out to Latino voters? And he says, "I have the only female chief of staff who's Latina in the Senate," which sounds like it's like, well, are you saying you hired her for affirmative action? But then he immediately says, "I hired her because she's the best qualified person for the job."
Right. So
and
he gets around that.
So it's like, well, wait a minute. Then why does her being a female Latina matter? So, but anyway, then he turns to Nikki Haley because he realized that he said something stupid and he's trying to immediately change the subject. And he turns to Nikki Haley and says, "Nikki Haley, I know we're talking about like the Latin community, but fuck that. That's boring. Nikki Haley offered 10 cents gas in tax increase on oil. She's never seen a federal dollar she didn't love."
Wow.
To which Nikki says, she literally says to him, "Bring it." So I was like, oh, okay. That's a pretty good rhetoric from her part. And then he keeps going saying, Nikki Haley spent $50,000. Or was it 50 or 15? I couldn't catch it.
I don't know.
Well, he said, Nikki Haley spent $15,000 on curtains. Are you familiar with this curtain story? I'm completely unfamiliar with
Curtain Gate. No, I kept thinking, look, Tim Scott, this is curtains for your campaign. Like, where is this going?
Yeah, I was like, what is he talking? I didn't know what he was talking about. So then Nikki says, she responds by saying she fought the gas tax multiple times. And then Scott says, go on YouTube, watch the clip. And then she says, no, I said I'd only pass the gas tax if you give me 3 times the deduction in income tax, which I don't know if that's true, but whatever. And then she said on the curtain issue, she said, Obama bought those curtains.
Yeah.
I didn't buy those curtains. Obama bought those curtains. Then she said, and then Tim Scott says, did you send the curtains back? And then
it's just
I was like,
so
what?
weird.
And then she said, you send them back. You're the one that works in Congress. Which I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay.
I'm here to confiscate your Obama curtains.
And then Tim
I'm
Scott's
from
like,
the Congress.
yeah, right. I was like, what does that mean? And then Tim Scott's like, no, you hung those curtains up yourself. You personally took those curtains out of a box and you hung them up and you danced around them. You did a jig around those curtains. And then she said, no, those curtains were up before I even got there. The State Department put up those curtains, not me. And I was like, this is the lamest debate I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, the curtain back and forth was definitely
God.
made them both look horrible.
Yes, the
Made them
curtains.
both look very petty.
Yes, stupid curtains conversation. And he didn't even explain what the curtains was. I was like, okay.
They don't really have time for that kind of
I
stuff.
guess, but then don't bring it up. Then no one knows what you're talking about.
So this is super interesting.
Oh, this is funny.
And
Yeah.
look, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like why do they do this stuff? It seems like the contestants are immediately going to find a way to wiggle out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, if you remember in the first debate, they were going to do another one of those raise your hand questions.
Right. But they found a new way to do it now.
Right. And so, but this is good. This is part of why I think DeSantis is doing well in the polls. So then the first debate, they tried to do I forget what was the question, but something about like raise your hand question.
Right.
DeSantis was like, we're not school children. Stop degrading us. Just ask us a question. We're not going to raise our hand.
Right.
And so this time,
right. They're
Dana,
instead of raising your hand.
it's even worse.
I know.
Dana Perino was like, okay. She's like, listen, contestants, in front of you, you will find a piece of paper and a pen. I want you all to write off who on stage you would vote off the island. Because if you're all running, there's no way you're going to win. So I want you all to write one person's name who you want to vote off the island. She literally says vote off the island. Like who you want to drop out of the primary.
In the first debate, the hand question was about climate change.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
The framing of this, though, is a little different than that. The framing is none of you can beat Trump unless you concentrate your forces.
Oh,
Some of you need to drop out of the race. And I really wish they would have asked this question more clearly.
Right.
So that the American people could say, oh, yeah, they're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Why are all these dumb fucks still in the race if they're really worried about Trump? So which one of you is going to get voted off the island so that, so one of you can rise in the polls and actually beat Trump? So the question immediately is, how do they wiggle out of this, right?
Well, so
can you imagine like holding up, look,
yeah.
I'm thinking this would be amazing television if they actually did it, but I just like, really?
Could you imagine?
I mean, that would be the picture on the front page of all the newspapers. It would be like DeSantis holding up a sign saying Nikki Haley with like a noose or a like, right?
Yes, right. It was like the visual of all the candidates on stage holding a little placard with someone's name on it. It would be so
backstabbing them. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Vivek backstabbed DeSantis
right.
backstabbed. Like they're totally setting it up for the moment that, I mean, I want to live in that universe. Like,
I mean, it would have been great television, but like really bad for all the candidates on stage.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're basically like, let's see if we can trick these people into really throwing their entire careers away.
Right.
But then, obviously they wiggle out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. DeSantis does the exact same thing he did in the first debate. And he said, listen, we're not going to do that. This is degrading and stupid and childish.
Right.
Like,
this is degrading.
True.
This is degrading to the other people on the stage. Like I can't look, yeah. I'm not going to write one of their names down. And Christie has already written a name down. Christie's like putting the cap on the pen here. Like he's ready.
He was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done.
Exactly. But Christie, like this, he's like, this is my shot. Christie's written down Trump. Like he's like, yeah, forget these people on the stage.
It's funny. So one of them says like, Christie, you look like you've written down something. This is after DeSantis basically said that we're not going to do that because it's disparaging and degrading to everyone here. And then Christie's like, oh shit, and maybe I shouldn't have written anything down. And they're like, Christie, you seem to have written something down. Do you want to share with the class? And he's like, I didn't write anything down.
No, he said, I'll show you.
No, he said, I'll tell you. He said, I did not write anything down, but I will answer the question.
Oh, okay. I thought he said, look, I did write something down, and I'm going to tell you exactly who I wrote down.
No,
it's Trump.
No. It's Trump. Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, you dumbass. We told you can't write down Trump.
But no, he had a good answer for, I guess, well, I don't know if it's a good answer because I don't think him going after Trump is going to win him any votes.
Right.
So it's probably not a good answer. But he said, everyone on the stage this was actually hilarious. He says, everyone on this stage has shown respect to come on the stage and answer these questions before us. And these questions to American people. And I respect everyone on the stage for, and he turns to Vivek and says, Vivek, put your fucking hand down. I still have time to talk. Anyway, I respect everyone.
Which was great. Which was great. Look, that was a zinger that actually worked because it made it look like Vivek was just an anxious schoolboy. Like, look, pick me, teacher, pick me.
It was just hilarious because he's literally in the middle of saying that he respects everyone on the stage. He looks at Vivek and snaps him and tells him to shut the fuck up, put his hand down.
It's great.
It was like literally like a scene from like a comedy.
I respect everyone on this stage. Except for you, Vivek. Put your hand down.
Yes.
No, this was great. This was totally great. Yeah.
Yep.
Christie stole the show at the end. It's too bad because like people check out. People don't watch all the way through. So.
True. And then I think Vivek had the last line.
Right.
Where he didn't say anything that exciting. So.
Well, no, he said Trump was a great president.
Excellent
he started
president.
Immediately kissing Trump's auditioning for vice president.
Yep. Trump was an excellent president. But America First doesn't belong to one man. It belongs to you, the people. And who will unite the country? I will unite the country to take the America First agenda to Washington. And I was like, okay.
So Vivek, I don't think is ever going to be vice president. I think word on the street is Trump is going to pick a woman to try to deal with those sexist claims. Those rapist claims that are inevitably going to come out from Biden.
Yeah.
So all in all, I thought, I mean, the first debate seemed more exciting than this debate.
Oh, it definitely was. It definitely was. Yeah. We didn't have any, unfortunately, we didn't have any Mike Pence whipping out a Bible and throwing it at people across the stage. Sadly.
That good stuff.
I mean, we did have a lot of people just holding down Vivek and just pummeling him. It was like stop, he's already dead. Vivek trying to just be like, I'm everyone's friend. And they're like, no, we all hate your guts. You're not my friend. So, but yeah, no, the first one was definitely more exciting. So I guess we'll see. I think Vivek overall, I think DeSantis is going to go up again in the polls. I think he did the best. I think Robot Ron did the best. I think Vivek is going to drop pretty substantially from this. I think he lost a lot of momentum he maybe gained from the first one. I think Nikki will probably go up a little bit. I think everyone else will probably go up a little bit. Well, I think I think Berger will get knocked to oblivion from this. Well, I don't know. Do you think do you think Scott will go up from this?
Scott, look, Scott's going nowhere. It's between DeSantis. It's between DeSantis and Trump. I don't see that really changing.
Right. I'm just wondering how I think Nikki and Christie will go up a little bit from this. I think DeSantis will go up the most. I think Scott will either be negative or neutral. Vivek will go down. And Berger will go down. That'd be my
Washington Post is lefty.
Yeah.
Washington Post from 24 minutes ago. The winners and losers of the second Republican debate. Winners. Nikki Haley. Donald Trump. Obamacare. What? Losers. GOP debates. Oh, interesting. Ron DeSantis.
They said he's a loser?
A DeSantis ally remarked to Semfor before the debate. If he doesn't do well here, in my opinion, he's got to drop out. If he
He
doesn't
did
want to be,
fine. Why do they think he didn't do
if
well?
he doesn't want to be embarrassed. Yeah, this was before the debate anyway. He didn't do particularly well. But more than that, there was nothing that seemed likely to arrest his backsliding. Is he backsliding? Did he
On
drop
what?
in the polls?
Um,
Look, the voters are what matter here.
I,
GOP, another loser. GOP moderation on immigration.
well, this to me it's very fascinating because I keep hearing this from like people on the left. They're like, "Oh, we like Nikki Haley." It's so funny.
They're trying to big
They're
time
just
sell her,
like her.
but
They literally just like her because she's a woman. I swear to God, it's literally these people are so just consumed by identity politics. And I know people in my real life I talk to who are like pretty strong Democrats and they still like her. I'm like, why? Do you ever like she doesn't everything she's saying is like Republican policies. I don't know why you would I mean the only thing that they would agree with her on is supporting Ukraine. But like every other policy she says like straight Republican policy. I don't understand why they all salivate over Nikki Haley. I think it's literally just because she's a woman and they're like, oh, we like women. We like strong women. I think that's all that's motivating these people.
right.
Because even this Washington Post article, they're like, the strength of Haley's initial debate performance was dealing directly with issues and looking like a serious candidate who could appeal to all parts of the party. It's like, okay, whatever. She later gave the most substantive answers on healthcare. Is that true? What was her answer on healthcare? I don't remember her answer on healthcare.
Who won? New York Times. Who won the debate? Rivals struggle to shine with Trump off stage. They say Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, and Donald Trump. Mr. DeSantis has faced criticism for his awkwardness on the campaign trail and for something irascible on and seemed irascible on the debate stage on Wednesday night. He won praise for a crisp and measured performance. He shot down bad faith arguments without seeming unpleasant and hit back with his record of achievements while rejecting clown show overtures. Look, Vivek Ramaswamy is not in any of these articles.
Because all he did was got beat up. I mean, so this Washington Post article by Aaron Blake is like a joke.
Is it?
Because it's like, well, what is the point of writing an article that's like the winners and losers of the second Republican debate for a Democrat audience? Who cares what the like the article's written like for Democrats? Like, well, who cares? That's not what's important. What's important, they're not voting the primary. What matters is how Republican voters are going to interpret the debate. Like if we watch like a Democrat debate and we're like, let's look at this from the perspective of Republican voters. It's like, well, why? That's stupid. Look at it from how the Democrats would. You have to look at how
this October 10th and 11th, Prime Big Deal Days give Prime.
So it's just very obviously like his own bias, just completely. Because I mean, I thought DeSantis did fine debate. I think he will. I don't see how they could say he's going to do, backsliding in this. I think he's only going to go up after this one. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to beat Trump. I don't think any of them are going to beat Trump unless Trump gets knocked out by something outside of his control, like getting arrested or something. But
right, is Trump still up 20 points in the polls? I haven't even looked.
Republican primary polls.
Chat, you look. I'll read some super chats.
Trump is at, according to 538. Trump's at 54%, and DeSantis is at
54%.
DeSantis is at 13. So
yeah.
Substantial.
Okay. Ouch.
Very substantial.
So it's like he's up 40 points.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me at all. So I'm saying I can't imagine Trump losing unless something crazy happens. So
yes. All right. Well, I guess I'll let you read super chats. You're better at reading than me. Okay. But I put a poll up. I guess I'll mention just so it's in the video. How do I get to that poll?
The poll says Vivek, based, soy, or not sure.
Yeah. So Vivek, based, 22%. Oh, look, our audience is soured on Vivek. 41% soy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He was very soy in this debate.
Yeah,
Where was the
37% not sure.
where was the fighter Vivek from the first debate?
Right.
See him again.
So close to 400 votes there. And maybe people will stop accusing us of VDS then.
There you go. John Zena Warrior Princess for $20. Thank you so much. Says, I noticed the general reluctance to say cultural Marxism now that it's been successfully smeared. How about replacing it with intersectional Marxism? There's no Wikipedia entry yet. If anyone knows how to make one, clip it, CT.
I love the clip at CT.
Intersectional Marxism. I do like that.
I do
like
too.
That. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. Intersectional Marxism.
And I think it works. I think it functions just as well. It really does.
Yes, I agree. Okay.
I know instantly what we mean with intersectional Marxism.
Yes. Okay.
Look at this.
Great. Good job, John Zena. You did it. You found the word intersectional Marxism. I love it.
I'm moving this to my notes.
Beautiful. Hearted. Bruins for 15 months says, hey now. Well, this has been a great stream so far, but I'm going to bed. I'll watch the rest tomorrow. Godspeed. Well, thank you, Bruins.
Yeah. Thanks for checking it out. Leave us a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this thing.
Even though I think Bruins said that before the stream actually started. But thank you. I know it's late because, I mean, the debate ended at 11 p.m. Eastern time anyway. So,
yeah.
Insensitive for $20 says, Sitch, I'm going to assume you know this. Did DeSantis ban fracking in Florida? I was generally stumped anyone had anything to attack DeSantis with. I actually don't know that. I mean, I looked it up briefly. So I talked about a lot of things were saying he did ban fracking in Florida. So, and I have heard from other Democrats who actually have said like, oh, you know, they support DeSantis on the environment. The one thing they agree with. So I'm assuming there's some truth to this. But
cool.
There you go.
Look, if it's dangerous to do that, they shouldn't do it. I think obviously sometimes people go overkill on the fracking being the apocalypse for the economy.
You mean the environment?
Oh yeah, the environment.
Right.
I do mean the environment.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, like, Florida people are very, you know, they don't want to pollute the Everglades and stuff. So,
yeah,
environment. I mean, Florida's kind of known for its big beaches and everything. So,
makes sense. Big oil slick on the beach, that'd be bad for business.
Right. But I don't know if there's truth to the fact that because it's limestone, that would make fracking more or less dangerous or something. But Joey Not Nice for $20 says these debates are boring without Trump. Sad. Yeah, I mean, it would always definitely be more exciting if Trump was there. But I think so Trump is definitely, in my opinion, 100% making the right decision to not show up to these debates.
I agree. Yeah.
But so there was some talk of him saying that he wouldn't show up to a general debate with Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, number one, if he doesn't do that, that's insanely stupid. Because that's going to make him look really weak, because the whole narrative has been Joe Biden is a weak old man who doesn't know where he is. And so don't you want to have Trump show up on stage and embarrass him? And if Trump doesn't show up on stage to do that, you're like, well, wait a minute. Is something wrong with Trump?
That's that's not going to happen. I don't think there's any way Trump is not going to debate Joe Biden.
Well, that was part two. Okay. Part two was, I was going to say, I don't think that that's true. I could imagine Trump saying something like that just so people talk about it. Like, oh, is he going to show up? Oh my God, he's going to make it like a mystery.
That's the play. You know? That's totally the play.
So I agree with you. I think there's no chance that Trump will not debate Biden, because it would look so bad if he didn't.
Of course, yeah. Weak old man. You're not even willing to get in the ring with him. And I mean, Trump is really good at these things. He is. He is. That first town hall that he did, man. That was smart. So also, I don't know if it's set, but Ron DeSantis is supposed to debate Gavin Newsom.
Right.
Which that is totally thinking outside of the box.
Yes.
So that will be much better for DeSantis in doing these debates with these other candidates.
Well, only if he does good.
I think it's a win either way, because he's distinguishes himself as, look, I'm so important that another popular governor, well, I don't know how popular Gavin Newsom is these days,
right?
But another governor from a big state is going to do this special debate with me that none of you are even invited to. Like, it does separate him as far as the higher status candidate. And I think that matters. I think that makes an effect on people.
It is set for November 30th on Fox. Yeah. It'll be moderated by Sean Hannity, interestingly enough.
But the I don't know when Iowa is. I don't know when the first primary is, but I'm assuming it's before that.
No, the debate is, first.
See, that
it's not until next year, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, January 15th.
The primary
is the first Republican primary, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this debate's going to happen. Look, at that other article was talking about DeSantis dropping out. DeSantis hasn't set up a debate with Gavin Newsom, and he's dropping out of the debate. Dropping out of the... That's crazy.
No, listen, that Washington Post article...
DeSantis is not going anywhere.
Yeah, that Washington Post article is literally retarded. DeSantis will not drop out at all. He will go to... Because Trump is the heir and DeSantis is the spare, okay? He's going to it. He will go through the primaries until he loses the primaries if Trump doesn't get knocked out by some external factor or something. Mm-hmm. Because he's betting on something's going to knock Trump. Well, here's the question. What happens if Trump wins the primary and then gets arrested? I mean, I guess he could still run. I mean, almost like he could still run for president, but
he's still running. All that stuff is still on. He's not going to get arrested. This is just...
You say
and
that.
If he does, look,
true.
If he does they couldn't even keep Jesse Smollett in jail for like a day. Trump is not going to stay in jail.
No. I'm saying gets convicted. If Trump gets convicted on one of these cases next year, the middle of next year after the primary,
they have all these different things that they can do to postpone the arrest. They do this all the time.
Oh, okay. I mean, we'll see.
You know, Jesse Smollett stayed in jail for like 24 hours. And
I don't know what Jesse Smollett has to do with anything.
Look, I'm just saying, like, he's a nobody, and they couldn't even keep him in jail. He did this giant hate crime hoax. They're not going to be able to keep Donald Trump in jail. That's like completely ridiculous.
Yeah, no,
obviously people are just dreaming if they think Donald Trump is going to spend a night in jail.
Right. So obviously the Trump defense strategy will be to try to postpone everything until after the election, right? And I think that's definitely very possible. But
it's just people are dreaming.
I understand that. But I'm saying, but when you have in Georgia and all these other places where they're making all this hay about how they're going to really try to fast track these trials, I don't know if they'll be able to delay it past the election. We'll see.
Even if Trump is convicted, he's not going to spend a night in jail.
Depends what he's convicted of.
I don't think he's going to spend. Look,
okay.
I don't think there's any chance in hell he's going to spend a night in jail for any.
Okay,
of this.
let's be theoretically, if he say he gets convicted of the Georgia case, okay. I mean, I could believe that they would reach some agreement where he doesn't spend time in jail, but he exists under house arrest or something. That's wear like an ankle monitor. I don't necessarily disagree with you. But
look,
I mean, sending him to jail
like,
would
look,
be weird.
I didn't like the White House anyway. I'm ruling the nation from Mar-a-Lago.
Right. Yeah.
It's just all of this is just
okay.
I don't think it's even remotely plausible or possible or any of that.
Okay, we'll see.
You don't think so, right?
It's possible what? I don't think Trump will go. I agree with you. I don't think Trump will go to jail. I think even if he's convicted, they will hammer out some agreements where he's not like physically in a state or federal prison, because the security risk to that would be too great.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that. But I also agree that it's probably, I would think, if you make me choose, I would think it's probably more likely that none of these cases will be adjudicated on before the next election. Anyway, that'd be my guess.
Cool.
So
I agree.
But I think DeSantis he's praying that they are. He's praying that Trump gets convicted. Because I think that's his only potential way to win.
Look, if Trump gets convicted, I think he is a nominee 100% for sure.
I'm not sure. I think there's a big difference between being accused of a crime and being convicted of a crime in terms of how like the general public views these sorts of things.
He was convicted on the rape thing.
That was kind of different. I don't think that's the same thing.
Here, let me go to ChatGPT. Is Donald Trump a rapist? Look, I'm not really doing it, but oh no, let's do it. Where's my ChatGPT? Read another super chat. Come on.
Let's see. General Hydra for 2 hours says, "What about Tucker Carlson?" I don't know. What about him?
Some people think he's running.
Really?
Yeah.
No, fuck way. He's not running. It's too late. No, he's not running. I don't. Maybe in the future, but not. I don't think he's running now. Lives in Deswell specifically for $2 says Piccolo trained the Republican candidates well. True, because they're all masters of the dodge.
So what? Look, I just asked ChatGPT: is Donald Trump a rapist?
Yeah,
a racist. I'll ask him that next. ChatGPT, there was no hesitation here. Answered immediately. What do you think the answer is?
Well, I know what the actual answer is. I don't know what ChatGPT said.
What's the actual answer? We'll see if it gets it right.
The verdict was split. Jurors rejected Carol's claims that she was raped and found Trump responsible for a lesser degree of sexual abuse. The judgment adds to Trump's legal woes and offers vindication to Carol. Blah, 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 blah.
There have been various allegations and accusations made against Donald Trump, including allegations of sexual misconduct and rape.
Right.
It's important to note that the allegations are not the same as proven facts. Trump has denied the allegations and has not been convicted of any crimes related to them.
So they said that they were going to change ChatGPT soon, I think, to be able to look at information past 2021, but I don't think it's gone into effect yet. So it's probably using old information.
It says that in the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, they did find him guilty of sexual abuse in a civil case, not a criminal case.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, I don't think it's the same thing. I just don't think people perceive it the same way.
Well, cool.
But anyway,
I don't think
Stug for $5 says my favorite part of the debate is when I went to the bathroom in the middle of it. True.
That's great. Look, you got a good bathroom break. Did you pause? I paused when I went to the bathroom.
I just had it on my phone. I just walked with me.
Oh, sweet.
Paul Dellinger for 15 months says, so the unions are upset because electric vehicles require less workers to build. The subsidies and emission regulations are forcing EV adoption. Ah, okay. That makes more sense then.
The unions are upset. Oh, really? Interesting. So is that why they want to go down to the 4-day work week? Maybe. They're like, listen, instead of laying us off, let's go down. That's the answer to the automation stuff.
If Berger had actually explained what he was talking about, maybe you would be able to track it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Paul. Stuck for $5 says, I met a couple in Iowa who told me how they were struggling. So that's why I know we need to solve America's problems.
Stug, that's better than anyone on the stage.
That was like half the answers. It's like, listen, I met a family that was struggling in some state, some non-coastal state, and they told me their woes, and that's why I know that I should save America.
Me.
Austin Unruff for $20. Thank you. Says if the government shuts down, military doesn't get paid, that'd be a big hit to Republicans, and I want my paycheck. Is it true? I thought the military was somehow walled off from government shutdowns.
Yeah, I look. Do Social Security checks go out? Because that's a giant hit to the Republican Party too.
I don't think they do. I assume they don't. The federal government will actually, did they last time? The federal government will shut down October 1st if Congress doesn't pass funding legislation. Service members will continue to report for duty, though they will not get paid. Oh, wow, you're right. During a shutdown. And many of hundreds of thousands of civilians who work for the Department of Defense will likely be furloughed.
Nice.
Okay, I mean, that sucks. That definitely is huge sucks if you're in the military. You don't get paid. Jeez.
Yeah. Send your FUs to Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. I mean, I really think he's just doing this to try to run for president in 2028 like Ted Cruz did with his government shutdown. And
I think it great for Ted Cruz.
The delegates, Donald. Give me the delegates. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell because Donald is such an a unique factor. Would Ted Cruz have been able to beat Jeb if Donald Trump wasn't in the race in 2016? I don't know.
Who knows? Joey Not Nice for $5 says, this housing rant by Adam is better than anything from the debate. A-team. Look at that.
There you go.
Why, thank you. Thank you for the $5 and thank you for the compliment. We do need to do something. Let's not let Sitch discourage us on housing. Okay. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about.
I love that screen name.
Oh my God. For $2 says breaking news out of Arizona, governor related. What happened in Arizona?
Did someone drop out of the race?
Breaking news. State treasurer excludes 2 Hobbs appointees from investment meeting, citing murky status. I don't know what any of that means. That's the most recent breaking news out of Arizona regarding Governor Katie Hobbs. Katie Hobbs withdraws director nominees. Okay. Luke Norris for $20 says, hey now, I love everything about Vivek, except the policies. Watching sleepy Tim Scott try to sound exciting just makes me laugh. As always, S-Class is the best class. Thank you, Luke.
Kansas, 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 Kansas.
There you go. Alex for $5 says, remote turret in every classroom. As soon as a gunshot is detected, it eliminates the threat automatically. Or has police remote immediately. There you go. I like it. That's a good thing. John Benor for 11 months says, I love Sitch and Adam. Well, we love you, John. Thank you.
We do. Yeah. Thanks for being a member.
Drunk Hammer for $20. Thank you so much for your first ever super chat. Thank you.
Look at that.
Says, my first super chat, my intuition goes to S-Class, but Adam liked my tweet about Sitch and Adam advising Brandon Herrera. So A-Team reigns supreme. Sitch noises.
Nice. Can we get it growing out of S-Class? Perfect.
Whatever.
There's some Sitch noises for you. Thank you for the first super chat. It's super generous of you.
Cake Sauce for 16 months says, hey now, you guys rock. Well, thank you, Cake Sauce.
Yeah, thanks.
Andrew Clark for Joe says, Sitch, check your DMs.
Check those DMs, Sitch.
I did. What? Andrew Clark.
Flocky VT for $5 says,
gotcha.
You can lower debt by cutting policy spend, but put that to debt. Lowers debt, no new taxes. You don't have to raise taxes to pay debt. Government spending does not equal econ. Okay. Look, I disagree on this, but
Whoa, hold on. Yeah, and I guess we should obviously if you lower government spending without increasing taxes, you would lower the debt, right? Because you're increasing the amount coming in without increasing the amount coming out, right?
If you lower government spending without raising taxes.
Yeah, it will lower the debt. Or at least it would lower the debt, or at least lower the growth of the debt, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that is true. But it's just government spending, if you want to increase, that's not going to increase the size of the economy, though, which is what Tim Scott said. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think you can either lower the debt or increase the size of the economy. I don't think you can do both of those things.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Look, it's better if you conceptualize the debt as the money supply and not as something that we have to pay back to somebody. Right?
Well, I mean, I agree, but most people won't agree with that.
Well, who are you paying back when you pay back the debt?
Mm-hmm.
Look, if the government spends, well, let's not get into it.
Don't get into it.
Yeah. JD for $10 says,
this was a Univision debate more than a Fox debate. That's true. This was a Univision Fox debate.
Yeah, what was up in the very beginning when I think he got the woman's name wrong or something? It was like What
Who
just
did?
happened there? I'm going to go back and check it out.
I missed it. I don't know.
There was some major social faux pas that took place at the very beginning, like he got her name wrong.
Oh, okay.
This lady from Univision.
Right. But a big detail is that Murdoch retired and now it's in his kids' Champagne Socialist hands. Are his kids like lefties?
Oh, wow.
Is that true? I know his kids are running it, but I assume that they were right wing like their father. I didn't know they were left wing. That's very interesting. They are.
That is interesting.
Fletcher McTaggy for 5 Canadian says, would you guys be open to having Jesse Singal on to talk about the Cluster F Majority Report appearance, Emma Sucks?
Hell
100%.
yeah, we would.
Yeah, actually, we're supposed to talk to him at some point. We just never nailed down a date. So
yeah,
I think we need to reach out to him by email because I think he's kind of like not on Twitter so much anymore. So
we've both exchanged DMs with Jesse Singal, and he gave us a shout out in the podcast they did covering the Majority Report mess up. So
yeah,
he listened to our coverage of it and
yes,
thanked us for making fun of Sam and Emma.
right,
and backing him up. And
yeah.
look, you can look. Jesse Singal's been on the show before if you want to look it
Right.
up. We did talk to him
Sure.
a while back. So, but yeah, we'd love to talk
He used
to
to
him again,
like
obviously.
my old video.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny. But yeah, so no, I'd love to talk to Jesse.
Right.
So hopefully we can get the
Okay.
details of that hammered out. Solodoj
Well, go ahead.
Solodoj for $2 says, I'd say that selling people on the line the government can provide for all your wants and needs at no cost invites more incompetency, as we've seen politicians just kick the consequences down the road for others to handle. Yeah, I agree with that, I guess. Sure. And then Solodoj for $2 says, I'd like to see how big government supporters explain the competency of the world's largest bureaucracy failing an audit for 5 years in a row. Don't get me started on the headache of proper property accountability. I do just to see it go nowhere. I mean, I don't disagree. I think if the government can't even audit itself, that's a big problem. Needs to be accountability.
Okay, look.
Heads should roll.
I guess we're just doing super chats until they stop, but let's see here.
Loki VT for $2 says our debt
go.
is primarily owned to foreign nations. I believe that's not accurate.
Okay, so a total of 7.6 trillion is held by foreign countries, Japan, China, the list continues. We're 32 trillion, we have 32 trillion dollars of outstanding debt. 32 trillion in treasury bonds. So that's not even a third of the debt.
Right.
The thing is, though, what the government debt is it's treasury bonds. So that means China and Japan are holding a financial asset called a treasury bond that like all we have to do to pay it back is print dollars and give it to them. We just turn the treasury bond into dollars. So it's not like then they have the dollars and they can do whatever they want with the dollars.
Yeah, but what are they going to do with the dollars?
Well, they're going to buy
another treasury bond.
Well, yeah, obviously, unless they have something to do with the dollars.
Right.
I mean, maybe they're going to buy land rental property in Florida for all I know.
There you go. Yeah.
Because American laws are horrible. So, but yeah, let's finish up here.
That's part of why the debt increased so much is because the interest rate is so much higher. So that means interest rates on treasury bonds is significantly higher.
Right.
So, but yeah, do you have a chart that shows what is the percentage? Because I believe that foreign debt owned by quote owned, right, by foreign countries on treasury bonds is not the majority at all. You said it was less, a third.
Japan. Here, I'll bring it up. Read the super chats.
Okay. Fletcho McTaggy for 5 Canadian says, not to harp on it, but do you think Emma being a trust fund baby hurts her leftist bona fides? No, I don't, because it seems like that's like half of the leftist movement are trust fund babies or people that came from very well-off parents who essentially, I mean, my take on it is that they've been, they've had a big safety net in the terms of their parents their whole life. And so now they're like, well, everyone should have the safety net that I had, but from the government. I think that's like a lot of where their thinking comes from, which, I understand like wanting to have that empathy, but I think it kind of that shielding from reality distorts their view about how the way the world works. I don't know if Emma's ever worked a job outside of, media punditry. So I do think I think the fact that she's a trust fund, I don't think it's a surprise or shock that all these leftists, a lot of them are trust fund babies, because I think that sheltered worldview basically allows them to have the luxury beliefs that they have, because they haven't been affected by, like, if you're not affected by the cold hard realities of dealing with like awful people, it's very easy to have like this broad based empathy for a bunch of people that you've never had to actually interact with. Say, oh no, people are awful. So
here it is. Major foreign holders of U.S. Treasury securities as of July 2023. You've got Japan. It's like 1.1 trillion. Look, Japan. Japan's an ally, right?
No. But the chart shouldn't be not on which country, but like how much of the debt is owned by foreign countries versus how much is owned by other things. Because that was the question. You understand?
Well,
not what country owns which debt.
Oh, I thought you were asking me which countries.
No, because the super chat was they said that they thought most of the debt was owned by foreign countries. My understanding that that's not.
Oh, I already told you 7.6 trillion is owned by foreign countries. There's 32 trillion in debt. Okay. So you want me to do the math for you? Or?
Yeah.
Look, I know there's 32 trillion because I follow a bunch of people on Twitter that are constantly talking about the debt.
Right.
So.
Okay, so that's
7.6
divided by round up. That's only 22%.
22%. There you go.
Okay.
So in Japan is a lot of it. They're an ally, obviously. Japan, like China's the one that everyone's worried about. China's not even a trillion. It's 821 billion. United Kingdom is a big one. Mm-hmm. The next biggest one is all others. The next biggest one is Luxembourg, Belgium, Switzerland, Cayman Islands. Why does the Cayman Islands have so much in treasury bills?
I wonder.
Canada, Ireland, Taiwan, India, France. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but treasury bills, the United States debt is just a savings vehicle for anyone who wants to buy treasury bills.
Right.
Yeah. So instead of having a bunch of cash, what people like to do is they like to hold some sort of vehicle that's going to earn an interest rate, like a treasury bill.
Right.
But so anytime we can turn those treasury bills back into cash and just, here's your cash. Go spend it.
I found a chart.
Nice.
It says 21% of the U.S. debt is held by intragovernmental holdings. 19% is held by the Federal Reserve itself.
19% of the debt is held by the Federal Reserve?
Yes.
Oh. Interesting.
16% is held by non-public banks in the U.S. 15% is held by commercial banks in the U.S. 16% is by all other countries. 4% is Japan. 3% is China. 2% is the U.K. So there's your answer. I remember there was there were some people that would be like, what if China calls in all their debt at once? Which isn't literally impossible, but because they just buy a bunch of treasury bonds.
Look, if they wanted to do that, first of all, they would have to sell because the treasury bonds have maturity dates, right? So they'd be selling those treasury bonds at a discount.
A loss.
Yeah, at a loss. Exactly.
Yeah, but selling your treasury bond is not calling in a debt. Because it's not the U.S. wouldn't buy them back. They put it on the market. Some random person would buy it.
Look, the way that they conceptualize it is we would have to go to the American people and say, give us all your money. We
Right.
need to pay China back.
Right.
But that's not how it works. We just turn their treasury bonds into dollars. We just say, okay, here. Now your treasury bills are dollars. Take them.
Right.
Anyway.
Andrew Clark for $2 says, regarding the debt thing to Floki, that doesn't matter. Regarding who primarily owns the debt.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Look, it would be really stupid for America to get themselves in a situation where China could completely destroy their economy just by one action.
Right.
And America is no dummy.
There you go. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. This was great. Thanks, Sitch. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Nope. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations. Hope you enjoy our recap, our commentary on the Republican debate. And we'll see you all sometime. Some undisclosed time, some undisclosed place.
Sunday for sure. Bye-bye.